Simpsons Index, an online spreadsheet that is also a podcast. This is the podcast.
Coming to you out of SideQuest Studios, this is the Simpsons Index, episode 148. Hello out there, I'm your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill, and joining me tonight here as always, except when he's not BT Calloway.
No, hoi.
And joining us all the way over from England, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
For now.
It hasn't collapsed yet. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a moment I didn't know what to call it. Britain, United Kingdom, like...
They're all applicable because England is part of all of them.
Yeah.
It's like it's like fingers and thumbs.
But don't say that to Welsh or the Irish or the Scottish because they will get offended if you call them British.
No.
Thank you for the cultural information as well. Yes, anyway, joining us from England is Dan and Henry from the FireStarters Podcast.
Hello there.
Hello.
Sorry, I realised I set that up badly because I said you both at the same time and didn't give you a chance to say hello and get the listeners a chance to work out which one was which. That's Dan.
This is me.
And that's Henry.
And that's me.
And this is the Simpsons Index. This is the podcast where we watch and review 3 episodes of The Simpsons at a time, but there's a twist. Each episode must come from a different decade. Now, you guys are from the FireStarters Podcast. Why don't you tell the folks at home what you guys do?
Well, we're wasting our lives in that we are recording a history podcast based around the Billy Joel song "We Didn't Start the Fire." And that song is, just cultural reference to cultural reference. So me and Henry, every 2 weeks, break down one reference from that song, but we do it in chronological order.
Nice.
We've got 3 years left.
And I think we've got, 2 left on this one?
I don't know, man. You're the one who runs the math. I just stand here and talk.
But no, I've been listening to you guys for a while now and really enjoy what you do. So really thanks for coming on the show today.
Oh, very excited.
I know it's great to be here. I mean, our podcast in itself is just as I've called sometimes, a loose collection of Simpson references wrapped around the Billy Joel podcast.
Hence why I knew you guys would be good on this show.
That's the thing. It's always the question of how do you review historical events through the lens of pop culture, and that's what We Didn't Start the Fire is, and that's what The Simpsons is. I'm going to shut up.
It would have been appropriate as well to get you on that episode where they do a We Didn't Start the Fire parody, but I thought I'd spare you guys that one because it is a clip show.
Is it the one where they roast Homer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gump roast, where it's kind of a Forrest Gump parody as well. God, that episode sucks.
Yeah, and Grandpa marries Selma and Patty, and they actually did it later on, yeah.
Yep.
Yes, and Marge becomes a robot.
Yeah, they're just becoming a parody of themselves, aren't they? But let's go back to the start. Where did The Simpsons begin with you guys? We like to ask our new guests, where's your Simpsons history? Dan, we'll start with you.
Okay, well, my history is very tied in with my dad. Basically, growing up, my parents were divorced, so the thing is, I'd see my dad about once a week, and he would record them off TV for me, because in the UK, they played on Sky One over here, almost the Fox channel of the UK. They played there, so he'd record a bunch of me every week, so I was 7 or 8 years old. Every Wednesday, being given this tape, his 10 episodes, and it was right in the thick of the classic seasons, because I think it was right as season 8 or 9 was airing, so it was just the good ones, pretty much. And later on, as it went on, I got more into the Simpson videotapes as well. Because in the UK, at least, they had themed videos where the box would have a theme, be Heaven and Hell, and they'd have say Bart Sells His Soul, Marge Be Not Proud, and a couple of other ones, and Homer the Heretic, and they'd do it that way. So I saw those tapes a bunch.
Yeah, we had some of those as well. One of the ones that I had that I just absolutely wore out was the Simpsons Files, and it had that and Homer Badman and a couple of other, and the Stonecutters, yeah. How about you, Henry? What's your Simpsons history?
I'm a heathen. I didn't watch it during the classic era.
How dare you?
I grew up in Ireland, and my parents owned a restaurant, and they didn't have time to bring me home after school. I had to go to the restaurant after school, and I stayed up in a little room with a VCR player with no live TV.
Oh.
So my entertainment is whatever I pre-record at home with a fan's planning, and I get to watch that. And in the early 2000s, I just started watching The Simpsons on my own. None of my friends watched it. It's just me on my own. Then only in secondary school that I found people actually watch The Simpsons, and we just quote the classics. Yep. But I just watched really random episodes because in Ireland there's 3 channels that had The Simpsons on.
Interesting.
Yeah, one is the Irish channel, which is RTE2, and then one is the Sky One, as Dan said, which is our Fox channel, and then there's Channel 4, which is another free channel in England. And they just show really, really random episodes. Sky One shows the new ones, so I watched a lot of the new ones. So I watched the Ricky Gervais episode the week it was launched.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of classic ones I didn't even watch growing up because I never caught it on TV.
Interesting.
That must have been pretty amazing when you finally did catch them. And
Yeah. Like, I never watched Lemon of Troy until I was an adult.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you missed out.
Yeah, that was one of our early Cubics that we were just like floored with how good that one is. We also like to ask, where did you guys leave with the show? So, Henry, just jumping off that, are you still keeping up with the show, or?
I am now after listening to your podcast. Well, I'd stopped around. I didn't know when this new episode stopped. I stopped watching, but I remember watching the season 17 episode, one where they have Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio kind of character, and they do marriage counseling. So I must have stopped around there. I remember watching that even as a teenager. I'm like, what the fuck is this show now?
Yep.
But yeah, Dan and I've been watching season 30 recently.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because we watched that Halloween one, yeah.
How did that go?
Yeah. Well, we're not going to spoil it. We'll wait until you guys cover it.
Because, I used to keep up with the show week to week, but since about season 30, I stopped. Give me something to be surprised for on the podcast. All right, well, let's hook into this episode that I subjected you guys to. We just watched season 28, episode 14, Fatzcarraldo. First released in February of 2017, it was directed by Mark Kirkland, written by Michael Price. In this episode, all the fast food chains are going healthy or some shit, and Homer finds an old hot dog cart that he used to go to as a kid when his parents would be off at marriage counseling, and we discover the origins of how Homer got fat for the fucking millionth time. Guys, what did we think?
Michael Price, you say?
Michael Price.
Michael Price, I'd like to welcome you to the shit list. Without giving too much away. That's how I feel.
That's a long list now, isn't it?
It's surprisingly selective. I've forgotten most of them, to be fair. But
is Tim Long one of them?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Is Mike Scully on there?
Now, he is.
I mean, to give full context on this one, I usually take a page of notes. This one I've taken 2 pages, and I think there's one good one. One good one.
Oh, so they're all down arrows.
Everything else is angry.
Oh. My God, you've burst through the page on some of those. How about you guys? What'd you think?
I was just so confused. I'm like, is it too early? I just don't find any of this funny.
Yeah, well, you watch it and thinking, I know there's a story, I know there's plot happening, but what is this? Am I feeling happy? Am I feeling sad? What am I meant to feel at any of this? It's bizarre.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that was going to be the B plot with Lisa, 10 minutes in. I was like, oh, wait, now they're doing a B plot.
It was set up like garbage.
Oh, what was that?
Lisa being part of this school radio, it was set up terribly, and we'll get there.
And it doesn't resolve. Oh, my God.
It's awful.
All right, let's hook into the questionnaire. Henry, we'll start with you. For better or worse, what's a moment from this episode that stands out to you?
The Bullies podcast, maybe? Left, right, and center, is it?
Yep.
But I didn't think the rest of it was funny with Milhouse.
No, it was a good setup. It's a shame that all it was a Milhouse hanging upside down joke. It's interesting when Simpsons do these modern references to modern things.
You mean like the Hamilton reference where we got an award ceremony coming up. Hamilton's going to win everything. Fred Hamilton. And it's like, oh, God, that was terrible.
What?
Yeah, it's a real clanger.
Yeah. They just slammed it in there, didn't they? How about you, Dan? What's a moment for you that stands out for better or worse?
Well, some of the Henry's moments have sort of been something in modern culture. It's the moment where Homer says, Chewie, we're home. Chewie's what I call my mouth. It's just it's a Force Awakens thing, because the trailer must have come out around that time. I shuddered inside.
Jesus.
Yep.
It's... because that one sort of reminded me as well earlier in the episode where Marge is, you're picturing me as a hot dog right now. And then it's
oh no, stop it.
And then it's a burger and butter, Butterfinger. And what did he say to Lisa?
I don't even remember. He references the candy that Homer is hallucinating them as if he knows what he's hallucinating. It's fucking awful.
Weird.
Yeah.
BT. How about you, for better or worse? What's a moment that stands out to you?
Let me just flex up here. Where to start? I don't even know. I'm going to go back to that Lisa reporting B-plot, because this was just... All right, the way I feel about this episode is, despite the fact that it does have, plot structure that it follows, it's so unbelievably lazy and just insultingly, stupidly written. So the first thing we get is, for some reason, there's an award ceremony at the DMV, which isn't even our opening scene, but fine, fuck it, whatever. But Lisa's reporting to no one, for starters. She's speaking as though she's talking to a camera, but there's no camera there. There's no cameraman. I guess maybe she's recording it, but we don't know that. And all it took was, when they're talking about going to this award ceremony, is have Lisa say, and I'm going to report on it for the school radio news or whatever. That's it. One line, and I would understand this scene.
Yes.
And I would not. And it's not there, and it's so unbelievably lazy. Elliot, how about you?
I'm going to say this is another trope of the Simpsons HD era to put in unnecessary backstory into every aspect of every character trait of every character.
Yeah.
But it feels like we've revisited Homer's binge eating so many times. And for this episode to sort of frame it with Abe and Mona's arguing just feels really gross.
It just never works. With all the new episodes that mentions Abe and Mona, it's just been garbage, like the Inception one.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, where Homer's pissing himself, yeah. And that's the other thing. It feels like they keep bringing in Glenn Close, because our guest star for this episode, Glenn Close, for like one line for pointless little reminders of this character from, you know, one of the best episodes of the show's run. It's just so disappointing.
Yeah, and the original is one of Dan's favorite, isn't it?
It was, yeah. I mean, Mother Simpson is just fantastic. It feels like a real insult every time they bring her back, because like we got her backstory in one episode and we got that story was done with. So adding more around it means like, and also you got to think, when was Homer a child now? Because surely there's maybe the late 80s, would you say? If you figure he's like 6 or 7.
Oh, it's jumped around all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, fine, time is inconsistent, but even within this episode itself, it's inconsistent, because there's a bit where the guy goes, "Oh, I've not opened the hot dog stand because I've retired. I'm 97. Homer's like, "I thought you were the same age as me." It's like, how? He was an adult when you were 7.
Yeah.
He's clearly older. Fuck.
And recently we did an episode called Forgive and Regret, and I had a regret because I should have held on to that one to bring to you guys, because that actually had an appearance of Billy Joel in it. Not actual Billy Joel, just they had a cutaway joke with Billy Joel in it, and he was drunk. Yeah. And as another coincidence, that episode also had flashbacks to Mona baking pies for Homer, who got through his woes with, again, binge eating. It's just, they've just done it so many times.
They tried to address his binge eating because it's emotional eating. Like, they mentioned it, but I thought the plot would be that they're going to try to tackle his emotional eating, you know, stress eating, and try to substitute something healthier. But no.
That would require competence.
Well, because I think you're right, because it felt like that's what the episode was setting up, with all the fast food chains going healthy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, you had jokes like, I think it was Kentucky Fried Chickpeas, and the other one was like a Tofu Bell as well. You're like, oh, I get that. And Arby's, because ripping on Arby's, which reminds me of Happier Times. I think it's the Das Bus. That same joke in it.
I'm so hungry I could eat at Arby's.
Whoa. Which I don't know if you guys have that chain there, but we don't. Our only touch points is just, American sitcoms making fun of it.
I have eaten an Arby's very recently. About a month and a half ago, I was in America. I made a point to eat an Arby's. It was middling to poor.
Oh, wow.
That's Arby's.
Because it's just like deli meats and like plastic cheese, right?
No, it's sort of like, Arby's, it's a fast food chain, so it's kind of like a sub-McDonald's sort of.
A sub-McDonald's?
Oh, okay.
Jesus.
Well, that's what I went to with some kind of front in the basement of McDonald's, obviously. No, but it's like burgers, like big burgers, fries, chicken things, whatever. Because I got a chicken burger and fries, and it was meh.
Yeah.
They had something called Arby's sauce, which I don't know what that was, but it was enjoyable.
Well, there we go. It does have some redeeming qualities.
Sauce.
They're trying to expand American franchises into UK right now. Like, I think a Wendy's going to open soon here, like in England.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, they tried to open a Chick-fil-A in the south of England, and it was closed down because of mass protest, because of its stance on LGBTQAI rights.
Yep. Fuck Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, fuck them.
Fuck them indeed.
They close within a week or something.
Wow.
Yep, in Reading.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, see?
That's fast.
Play count. How many times before today have you seen this episode? We'll start with you, Dan.
This is my third time seeing it.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Why? You monster.
I'll tell you for why this was, because I didn't mention before, but basically my thing with the show is that anytime I go back home, my younger brother is always watching the show, so if I'm with him, I'll catch, if he's watching, I'll catch 2/3 of an episode. Then I saw this one recently a second time when I was going through season 28, and this is my third time seeing it. I hate myself.
Holy crap. Rarely does anyone outpace me with the HD watches. How about you, Henry?
None. Zero. This is the first time.
BT?
This will be my second time. I was at my parents' place and it was on, so I kind of half watched it.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's got to only be my second time watching it. Like, especially, the back end of the 20s, just once watch for obligation's sake, and then once for the podcast, and then delete the files from my computer, and then burn the
from
computer.
our minds.
So, wackiness. Was this a particularly wacky episode of The Simpsons?
I think in some aspects it was, because the whole thing with the fat guys of Springfield getting involved and the council of fast food chains, which is a peculiar joke throw in there. Like, why?
Yeah. And you see these setups and you wonder, okay, what's the joke going to be? And then their joke was, are you even a real colonel? What branch of military is this?
Okay, yeah. Great.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I thought that joke was with him fight the Colonel Sanders fighting for the Confederates. Maybe what army are you fighting? Never mind what army I fought in. I thought it was being a Confederate.
Or what courthouse we surrendered in is definitely the reference to the Southern Army of the Civil War.
Okay.
And there's a whole bit at the end as well where they eat McCheese at the end, but he's a guy in a suit. Like, what the fuck was that? What is that? Like, is it cannibalism?
Like,
it's such a Family Guy or even South Park joke. Like,
it's not
odd.
any of those. It's just it's so poor because it's happened so quickly as well. It's like cut to the full table, they're all there. Cut to the guy presenting, and then immediately this hamburger's been cut up into pieces and is decapitated and still begging for its life.
Oh no, it is a Family Guy joke where they do Mayor McCheese, but it's JFK being shot, and then the Jackie O starts eating the brains.
Oh, well, I put more value in Family Guy than I should have. Way to prove me wrong, Family Guy. You just keep on sucking.
Any other wacky moments stand out to you guys?
The one bit I'll say I did like.
Oh, wow. The one.
Yeah, the one. Was I kind of like that Homer's been on the news so many times, he's got his own theme music. I didn't like the theme music, but I like the idea.
Yeah, no, it's conceptual, and it does feel something at this point they would have within that universe, because at some point it becomes like every other episode at this point. He's on the news with some kind of police chase, and when he shouts, "I have no end game," that was a not terrible moment. Not good, but not terrible.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the shouting "I have no end game" was the writer, not the character.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Calling out for help.
They didn't know how to finish
As to your theory that the Simpsons writer are calling for help.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we sort of mentioned it before, but yeah, the fat guy's pulling the cart off the hill. I'm glad they didn't go with a typical puffed out joke. I was ready for that.
Yeah.
But it was just a bigger hill misdirect. And
I couldn't get past the fact this whole bit is so stupid because the thing's shut down because the guy retired. He wasn't bought out. He wasn't forced out of business. He wasn't from a lack of customers. He's retired. If they save the cart, it doesn't open. It's still shut. You would have to have someone else open it, and at this point, just open your own restaurant. This is not a thing with a solution. Anyway, I'll get back to you.
Well, I think as well, there's the joke with the fat guy as well. Like the animation that went on for so long, I feel like, was the episode running like 20 seconds short or something? Because like the pushing, like it keeps going on, and there's a joke of it. Oh, there's more hill. Like it felt like sometimes when they do the end of the episode, they do the show's too short, like animation at the end. It felt like that. Like, oh, we're 30 seconds short. 10 more seconds on the hill.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree, and I get this vibe as well because of them keeping on going to that music cue and slowing down the animation when they're like that da 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 da. I think we did that song recently.
Yeah, it's Psycho.
Psycho?
Yeah. There's a musical sting from, that was earlier. Maybe this is what you're referencing. I'm not too sure. Where Homer starts driving around looking for a place to eat. That's the Psycho music.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no.
Okay.
The classical music cue.
Okay, sorry, I missed it.
That was also in that episode where he pretends to get a job as a bigwig, but he just goes to Krusty Burger and filling out the mazes.
Was it Claire de Lune again?
Yeah, Claire de Lune. Thank you.
The one with the, he gets a life coach, is it?
Yeah, that's the one. So yeah, they use this same music sting, but in this one they use it 3 times, and each time it's like they're slowing down the animation to go with the music, which is fine, but returning to it 3 times, it just becomes obnoxious.
Yep.
Speaking of extended jokes, when he asked him like, "Oh, don't you remember me?" And the guy's like, "I've been here so long, I don't even remember the line of the Chicago Blackhawks." That joke is like, all right, but then he starts naming the people. I'm like, why?
Yep, episode's running another second short, throw in another Blackhawk. Yep. And the other wacky joke I wanted to mention was when Homer is having the flashback when he realized the hot dog was part of his origin. And then he has a random future vision of him throwing in a hot dog.
He remembers the future.
Yes.
Yeah. Hot dog into an IV bag, like
Homer Simpson is a god.
Clearly.
Must be.
Yeah. And also, I don't know, he's a god of rap, because at the beginning of that weird song he's singing as he gets up the car at the very beginning when he's talking about Cracker Jacks,
the rap.
Like
so horrible.
Because I've noticed in the new one especially, there's a strange thing of throwing like random songs, because you have that song where he's rapping and the song about hot dogs as well, with him and the hot dog vendor guy are both singing together. Like, I'm assuming that song's a reference to something I don't understand, or like it's an American commercial from way back when that I haven't seen. But like, why?
Do they have like some kind of contract thing with Dan Castellaneta that he needs to sing every 2 episodes now?
I'm going to guess yes. It's the only way it makes sense.
He didn't want to be a voice actor. He wanted to be a song and dance man.
He could have been a star, I tell you, a star on Broadway.
Do you think he's a better singer or a writer?
Singer.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's annoying about the hot dog song is that there's no music underneath it, and which I think leads into how it not being recognizable as like any song.
Yeah, if it's meant to be a thing. But again, a lot of things we find in the HD era is that this kind of pervasive silence that kind of runs through things because there's moments of just, there's no sound and there's nothing there. Like, the big point I noticed it was when they're in the cars during the car chase and you can't hear either of the vehicles. There's the sound of a helicopter overhead, but that's it. And the cars are dead silent. It's like, there should be the sound of, the train wagon, whatever it's called, the two cars, all of this, the police sirens, and it's just the helicopters. It feels so weirdly empty. And I don't know why it's not there. It's so obvious.
Is it just laziness at this point, or what?
Yeah, like I said, I'm convinced this is just a lazily, insultingly stupid episode.
So, being this chase moment, Lisa trying to negotiate and diffuse the situation, what did we think about the heart?
I think Henry's having a heart attack.
What heart?
Yeah.
Well, they try, but it was really badly done because they try to have that fake emotional thing with the him remembering his childhood, but it's always so phony to me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And there's situations with the hot dog guys all being like, I don't remember you, and then he just does it at the end. Like, oh, I do remember you, thinking, so why were you dicking with the guy for the first 15 minutes? And, like, what was the point of that?
Mm-hmm.
Just apro of nothing as well. Like, it just happens.
I got this one chambered if anyone else wants to throw in first.
BT, the doctor is in.
All right.
Cracks knuckles.
This starts off...
He cracked his toe knuckles as well, man.
Yeah.
It's a sight to see.
Because this whole thing initially starts off with Homer being like, oh, this guy doesn't remember me, I'm sad. He's like, you didn't remember him until you showed up, and now all the memories come flooding back. And we do that weird montage where he has a future flash forward of him putting a chili dog into the IV bag, which then doesn't work when the whole thing resolve is meant to be, oh, eating didn't get me through these hard times in my life, you did, guy. And then there's no follow-up. The entire montage of him eating is showing us what this memory was, and yet the resolve of that is, no, it was the conversations we had when I was eating, but we never see that. We never understand that. And then when the guy's all like, oh, I just pretended I didn't know you because I let you down, it's been 30 years. Like, why would you assume this person had been let down? What part of Homer's life now does he feel responsible for? And it just doesn't make sense. And even within itself, there's no cohesion between the beginning conflicts and the end resolution. And it's just such a lazy, stupid mess that thinks you won't notice or care. Well, we do. That's why we're here.
Thank you, Doctor.
Christ.
Learn script writing, you fuckhead. Michael Price.
I concur.
What that guy said.
Way to put it really succinctly and angrily.
Well, and again, it takes a scene of when him, dangling off the bridge and the guy being like, no, I do remember you. I just felt like I failed you. Cut back to him giving Homer a chili dog and, talking about, well, I know your parents are going through a tough time, but remember they still live. Some very generic advice. Then cut back and having being Homer be all, oh, that was you. And the talks we had that got me through that. That's it. Again, it's all you need.
Yeah, like for an episode that predicates on going back and seeing a little glimpse of Homer growing up with parents that are fighting.
Which could have been huge, and it could have been really insightful and had a lot of emotional weight and impact, and it just decided to not.
How about you guys? Did any of the heart of this episode land for you?
Not at all.
No.
It felt so false and forced, and bringing back Mono was the next thing of like, oh, remember the good episode? It's not that one.
If anything, a piece of my heart died.
Me too, man. And I didn't even remember until, we sort of mentioned Lisa earlier in the episode. Yeah, her story doesn't resolve. And right when it's given, like, a bit of impact, like, we're cutting the funding. And this is your moment for Lisa to come back. But she's only brought into the episode to do the negotiating, and it's like, that had nothing to do with your story.
Yeah, it wasn't a moment of, you need to break a big story soon or we're going to shut down the funding. The funding's been shut down, so even if she reports on Homer's getaway driving, it doesn't matter. It's over.
Oh, but why didn't she anyway? Oh my God, fuck this episode.
No, but even the background scene, when they're in the radio station, like the title for it is WSES, and if you look in the background, little sign gags in the background, it's really lazy because they have like topic is radio dead, but they've got it like 4 times on the same board. Like, they didn't even care for that scene.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you could have had some heart maybe from this B story.
Yeah, you could have.
Yeah.
Lisa pouring effort into something that people just don't appreciate is like Lisa's thing.
Yeah, Simpsons did it. Kids News.
Exactly. But I think there is something to say where, you know, radio being a struggling medium, being that it's all live to air and like it's having to adapt and put a lot of their shows out as podcasts now, like there's places you can go if you put in effort. But ultimately, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons? Were the characters behaving like themselves, do you reckon?
Oh, no.
No, it just felt kind of like an episode we've seen before. It reminds me kind of in the way that like it's like the way Stephen King will write like the same books on the same subject over and over again. Like you have like Christine, a haunted car, but no, few people okay, that's my haunted car movie. It feels like The Simpsons are like, oh, here's how Homer got fat. No, here's how Homer got fat. No, here's how Homer got fat. It feels like a remake of a remake of a remake.
I can't say they broke character. They just didn't do anything with them really.
Yeah, no one has anything to operate with. It's all just pieces on the ground. They're all like moving from one point to the other, and episode's over. Bye.
At least they remembered the integrity with Patty and Selma that they have an iguana and a kid, even though they didn't show them at any point.
Well, that's continuity, not integrity.
Isn't continuity integrity somewhat?
I mean, somewhat, but you know, the fact that their cars are labeled Thing 1 and Thing 2. Oh yeah, that's a Patty and Selma thing because they think of themselves as disgusting. No, they don't. So why was that there?
Yeah, this is not the show that we know and love from the.
How much dialogue did Bart get?
Oh yeah. Only at the DMV
scene.
Awards.
Oh, right.
Oh, that one too. And then at the DMV Awards when he's like, take me with you. Oh, and then Homer's stupid yelling, running away scene. God damn it. This episode gets me more angrier the more I talk about it.
Let the hate flow through you.
This episode's only going to get a silver for me, guys.
Yep. Lowest score ever. 7 thumbs up.
But yes or no, would you watch it again?
Dan, you're going to go for the record.
Yeah, I've had enough. Just with life generally, but also in this case, it's episode more specifically. No.
Sorry, this episode didn't help that sentiment. How about you, Henry?
Oh no, this is being deleted as we speak. I'm scrubbing my computer right now.
Scrub it twice.
Yeah, this would be held up as an example of what not to do.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only reason to rewatch it is to just break it apart and go, this is where you fucked up royal.
Yeah, because I think you made a good point before, BT, which is like the consideration of plot structure is there. It's handled so poorly.
Yeah.
So we'll start with you, Henry. What would you like to change about this episode?
Whoa, you're asking me to write a whole episode?
You have 24 hours.
Because you would just change everything, don't you?
That's a very good, safe answer.
But, you know, the things that BT say actually give it, like, emotional thoughts into the characters. Like, his relationship with that hot dog guy is just so shoehorned in. There's nothing, and then he just remembers at the end. And, like, everything is so inconsequential.
Yeah.
Like, what is the point of him saving that hot dog stand?
Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
Especially when they started off with this story about, you know, every fast food chain is getting kind of taken over and turned into like a healthy thing. And there's this guy who isn't. So why is the plot not they're trying to change his, you know, hot dog stand? Because that's already there. That piece is already there. And they just didn't connect it.
Is that what you'd like to change as well, BT?
Oh, I have a lot of things. I've already yelled most of them. However, I think because what's there is workable. It just takes the tiniest bit of effort to expand upon it. And cut that entire DMV thing at the beginning. Just start with Homer trying to he walks into Krusty Burger and they've changed the whole menu on him because everything from that entire thing was just so annoying and so boring. And then bring in how, I know, Lisa's maybe reporting on that and that's how that gets introduced. And then, it's there. It's just requires, instead of something that, I forgot my point there.
How about you, Dan? What would you like to change?
Well, I mean, you could bring Lisa's plot more into more directly. You could have like Lisa investigating the hot dog cart or doing like an NPR, like a radio type piece on the hot dog cart, which Homer comes to and finds, oh, I came here as a kid, and kind of have it be about like hair fall on the hot dog as it closes and gets rebranded or something like that, or it'd be the only like unhealthy place left in town. Like bring it together a lot more and have it make sense. Not like, oh, I found this random place I forgot as a child, or like here's a radio plot that goes on for like 3 minutes out of 22.
And it'd be an interesting limited run podcast series, our 6-episode investigation into the hot dog cart that gave Homer love or whatever.
Yep.
And yeah, look, as for what I'd change, like mentioning Patty and Selma, I just forgot that they had an angle of them losing their jobs. Yep. And why wasn't that part of the plot? Like them living at the Simpsons house and Homer constantly avoiding shit. Like there's a great like Simpsons house story to be told. And
or even as a motivation as to why Homer is now spending even more time at the hot dog stand like he did when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Again, this requires effort and a very minimal amount.
Oh, and they remind us in the episode that he was gonna, go see Mo that day, and and I'd like to see a bit of a jealousy angle from Mo. You're spending all this time at your hot dog stand when you used to get drunk with me.
The hot dogs give you what alcohol does? No.
All right, well, we're here. Dan, do you have any other notes about this episode?
It's also more about the title. Title being Fatzcarraldo, being a play on the Herzog film Fatzcarraldo. Why? It has nothing to do with anything. It just feels like, oh, here's a pun with the word fat and the word instead of the word fits. Nothing else to do with the title. Because I've seen the movie and it's like, it's about a dude trying to build something in the middle of a jungle, but why this episode? Why is the title this episode?
Yeah, thank you for that, because so many of these puns go over my head. Yeah, so Fatzcarraldo, nothing to do with this. They just found a way to insert the word fat. That's how it works.
Yep, pretty much.
Right.
Disappointing. How about you, Henry? Any other notes?
It was really early on, but you know that domino scene?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, that was really dragged out, wasn't it?
Yeah, talking about extending animation to fill in the time for this thing. God damn.
And absolutely pointless with nothing. It didn't contribute anything to anything.
Exactly. Well, it starts on the reference to 2001 because movie reference.
Another, overplayed reference that they've done at this point.
Yeah.
As well, what was it the Treehouse of Horror that we watched recently that had a 2001 reference, and it turned out it was an iPhone?
Oh, yeah, the Kubrick reference in it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, ugh. And the domino thing, it's an impressive thing to watch when it's actual real-life dominoes. Yeah. When it's, animated, you kind of got to go to some effort. And, it really didn't do much. It just went around the plan. And, it had, a cartoon of Homer and Burns in it at some point as well.
It just seemed quite zeitgeisty because, domino videos are popular on YouTube.
Yeah. No, for real. How about you, PT? Any other notes?
Yeah, I got a few more. Let's drudge these ones out. At the awards ceremony, they're like, but Homer, you're presenting the next award. Why in the fuck would that happen?
Yeah.
Homer Simpsons is the leader of the town.
I guess. Hey, you don't work here and you don't like these people and you forgot this was happening. You want to present an award? Yeah, sure. A line I kind of liked was the Python blaster at Krusty Burger. It's like, I want to be able to eat a sandwich that a python couldn't swallow whole without choking to death. Or something like that. Again, I would have enjoyed it more if I wasn't already angry. I was already angry.
Right.
During the whole, when he's picturing Marge as a hamburger thing, Bart's all like, but where were you? We were worried sick. No, why? Bart does not give a shit if Homer does not come home.
Almost like that was setting up, Homer being distant from the house to go spend time at the chili dog stand, but, they didn't follow up on it, so who cares?
Yep. I'll end it on two lines I did like. I think it was in the Bullies podcast. They talk about making a dope feel like a dingus. No, Nelson said that.
Oh, yeah. That was Haw Haw Origins.
Yeah. And Kent Brockman says, chili dog day afternoon, wiener on a roll. And that was okay. And my last one is another movie reference they shoehorned in, because why not, when they're all like, Chief, shouldn't we go arrest him? He did steal and destroy a, he's like, forget it, Lou, it's Chili Town.
But it's not. The set is closed now. It's no longer Chili Town.
It's such a lazy ending.
Yep. It's all like, so why doesn't Homer go to prison for all his crimes?
Oh, and then they made a joke about McMoon. Fucking hell.
I forgot that.
It's time for my final notes.
Now it's time for his final notes. Elliot's final notes.
Yes.
For no particular reason, Chalmers beat Skinner over the head with a pillow bag full of soaps.
Cool.
Yeah, that's just a thing that happens.
I forgot about that.
Oh, it's just like a cutaway during when Martin's, got the radio room together and, just out of nowhere. During the, Lisa interviewing Nelson about the Haw Haw Origins as well, she asked Milhouse what it was like to go full Nelson. Good pun. Liked it. Okay. I'll give you that one episode. The lawyers going out of the clown car. How did we like this?
And then, of course, let's not forget going back in for an extended amount of time. Couldn't have fast-forwarded that for make it a little bit funny. Wow. I know. Had to have the whole song going backwards.
Well, as we know, the episode was running short. They needed to fill like an extra 30 seconds to a minute. How else are you going to do it? Write more story?
Yeah.
Nope, just play a scene in reverse.
I just remembered the button to that bit where it's like, that better be a chimp's tail I'm feeling. Chimps don't have tails. Chimps don't have tails.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Comedy.
Classic bit of comedy, is that a something in your pocket? Are you a monkey? And when the chili dog is hanging off the bridge, Homer just should have grabbed onto the yellow bits, because if there's something that I learned from Uncharted 2, if you can climb along the yellow bits of any structure.
The yellow bit road.
Well played.
It's time to rank this thing. On the Simpsons Index, we rank using our 6-point scale, which starts down the bottom at failure. Maybe if the episode was just, you give a participant, but for the positive rankings, you got okay bronze, good silver, excellent gold, but for the best, of the very best, the episodes that The Simpsons could not exist without, you give cubic zirconia. I'm going to go first. Let me show you how it's done. Wasn't it obvious? I'm failing this fucking thing. It sucked. I hated it. I want to be forgetting it, but I won't because I hate it so much. BT.
Oh, yeah. Unquestionable. Absolute failure. It's so lazy. It's so stupid, and it thinks you're stupid enough to buy all this. So kick it in the pit of failure, and I hope it rots in there.
Jesus, Dan.
Well, failure as well, because it was neither funny nor a story. It was 22 minutes of moving images.
And the classic Simpsons, that was their two pillars of what makes a good Simpsons episode: funny and story. Mm-hmm. Henry, finish it off.
Wait, so you're not giving us over, huh? Okay.
Sorry, that was some subterfuge.
So yeah, definitely failing it, but I don't think it's the worst episode ever. It's just so bland that it deserves to fail, I think. Mm-hmm. It's not the Israel episode.
Oh, no.
We're actively seething in rage. But it's just it's so bad. They're it's just such a shabby car. You can drive it, but everyone's going to make fun of you along the way.
Yep.
Yeah, if this is someone's favorite Simpsons episode, they deserve all the ire of the internet. All right, well, unanimous failure. We are giving it
the index finger!
This will be the 7th episode from season 28 to receive the finger.
Wow.
It will be joining Monty Burns' Fleeing Circus, where Monty Burns starts a circus. The Last Traction Hero, where Homer breaks his spine, I think.
Something like that.
The Great Fatsby Part 2. The Cat in the Hat, where Bart has that vision of his conscience. There's a slime ball or something. Camp Krusty, the unneeded sequel to Camp Krusty.
The Abomination.
And Dogtown, where Springfield becomes a Dogtown. Sorry, I'm choking on my own rage here.
But that's the episode that Marge kicks a chihuahua.
That is. Oh, the things that we can say happened now in a Simpsons episode.
Yep.
Oh.
All right, and before we move on, is that reputation justified?
Is that reputation justified?
Dennis Perkins of the AV Club.
Dennis, let's just give it a B and call it a day, Perkins.
Yes.
He gave it a C+.
Oh my gosh.
You're so
Dennis,
close.
you broke your streak.
A true wild card.
He says, the episode aims for heart but lacks the focus to hit it. The problem is that to get at the heart of the story, Fatzcarraldo hand waves a lot of stuff that actually does matter. Mona might have abandoned her son, but her love for Homer formed the backbone of one of the series' best episodes. Having her peevishly ignore him in one brief appearance here is just sour and lazy.
That's a good metaphor for the whole episode. Sour and lazy.
Fair point, wildcard.
Yeah. It's interesting, that we've been so off with Dennis Perkins lately that it's nice to get him back on side.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe he is the
Little
wild
bit.
card after all.
I still doubt you, Dennis Perkins.
All right, guys, let's put the HD era behind us. And now we're going to the teens era. And Henry, why don't you tell them what episode you decided we should do?
Oh, I selected the season 19 episode. Is it called The Little Orphan Millie?
Little Orphan Millie.
Yes.
Right from the tail end of the teens era. All right, we're going to watch that and we'll be back. And we are back, and we just watched our Teens Era episode. This was Season 19, Episode 6, Little Orphan Millie. First released in November of 2007, it was directed by Lance Kramer, written by Mick Kelly. In this episode, Milhouse's parents, Kirk and Luann, announce that they're getting remarried. But then when they're going off on their honeymoon, they get lost at sea. And so Milhouse, in his depression, assumes the identity of a troubled loner. And then his Indiana Jones-esque uncle comes into the picture. Hey guys, what do we think?
I liked it.
Yeah, I think that's a noise of my feelings.
Whereas I am very neutral. Nah.
Now, this is interesting because this episode's got its defenders. I've never quite understood it. I do not hate this episode by any means. But, I mean, Henry, you picked this episode. Tell us why.
I don't know why, but I only watched it the once, and then I think I was cooking at the time, and it's like, oh, it's not a terrible episode for season 19, so that's why we picked it.
Yeah. I'm glad you did because, when people give them the option to pick episodes, they pick good ones. And I think I mean, don't want to say it was good or bad, but like
it's backhanded that.
I think it's got some good jokes.
Yep, it's got some merits. I like that they actually stick on Milhouse's sorrow and depression rather than just launching into another thing. It's like, no, they actually stay with that. That's very good.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm very interested to get into the discussion because, I think this is a polarizing episode. So let's hook into it. Henry, what is a moment that stands out to you from this episode for better or for worse?
I got two, and they're actually not really for good either. There's just two lines like really, really stood out to me. One is, I don't notice the color of people's eyes. I judge them by the color of their skin.
Yeah, that was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the second one is, Dan, can you confirm, did he call Reverend Lovejoy a spaz?
Yes, I think he did.
I'm not sure what it's like in Australia, but that's like one of the big no-no words here.
Yeah. I think it sort of, because it is like more of an English word as well. Yeah. But trickle-down effect. Yeah, it's a no-no word here too now.
Yeah.
Definitely on the list. I wouldn't say it's high on the list, but it's definitely on there.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the highest here, right, Dan?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's pretty high in that, like, it's often used as an insult for certain people.
Yeah. Like, I'd rather use the word cunt any day,
Oh, yeah.
That's a great word.
Yep, that's in our national anthem. It's all good.
Yeah. How about you, Dan? What stands out to you for better or for worse?
I'll start off with the one I quite liked in this episode. It's the part where Zach first comes to the episode and he's approached by the nerd character and he just punches him, just floors the guy when he floors. What's the guy's name? I did write down here the nerd's name. Yes, good old cute Tinkledink. When he's looking for his nephew, Neepsy Tobbs B. Panty Bottom, and Zach just lays him out on the floor. That's a funny moment.
All real names as well.
Yep.
Poor Tinkledinks.
Yeah. How about you, BT? What stands out to you from this episode for better or worse?
I don't know if it is for better. I'm very conflicted on it myself, but the bit where they have someone to tell Milhouse his parents are lost at sea, it's the visual is from Saving Private Ryan, but the music's from Platoon. And it's like, it's an interesting mashup of war movies you're doing right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I don't know if that was like an intentional, blend them together, or if it was just they forgot what belonged to which.
Right.
But I noted it. I don't know if I feel good or bad about it, but I noted it.
I knew it was some kind of reference. I just didn't know what the reference was.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say what stands out to me is I like the idea of the story of Homer not immediately knowing the color of Marge's eyes, because it's kind of that thing like, what is the shape of a person's nose? It's just, you see them all the time and it's just a detail like, hey, what is the cut? But I didn't think they pulled the greatest material out of it, even though I kind of liked Marge's little routine of stumbling through the house out of spite.
And just wearing sunglasses for the rest of the episode.
Yeah. Even when Milhouse is grieving with the two sailors, she's just there with patting her with her sunglasses.
Oh, that's right. But I kind of wish she just sort of kept up the sunglasses throughout the episode, but if she didn't, we may not have had the widely used image of her crumping.
Yes.
Because it was 2007 and crumping was like 2 years prior.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which, by the way, we did an episode a couple of weeks ago where Homer and Bart floss, and it's just
we watched that. The season 31 premiere, yeah.
Oh, the esports one, yeah.
No, not the esports one. The winter of our monetized content.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
Way to remember that terrible pun.
Yeah, the names of the episodes are enough to invoke blasphemy.
I only remember it because worst episode ever, they did that fake name game for their new episops. Yeah. And I was like, that can't be a real episode title.
Oh, no, they will go there. But yeah, it's just funny with these dancers that were popular for a couple of years and how quickly they date. And only being, 12 years removed from this, it feels so cringy. But
you may as well have them do the Charleston.
I didn't know what crumpling was when watching it. I had to Google it.
I still don't.
Yeah, I remember that they were trying to do it in Community as well.
But at least that was like a meant to be lame kind of joke.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, it kind of was here, showing, how dated Bart's attempts at popularity were.
Yeah. I still find it interesting, though, like the memes of The Simpsons that persist and some of the ones that do come from these later episodes. And that one frame of Marge when she's just ultra extended has become a great meme.
It's amazing.
It's one of the things I don't know how anyone found it. Like,
Yeah, because as you said, some of the memes are from really bad episodes, like the old man yell at clouds.
Yep.
Isn't that the one where Grandpa falls in love with that hoochie or something? That
Hoochie,
woman
hoochie.
that's
Hoochie.
yeah, that's right.
That's a terrible episode.
And Homer pinning his excess skin behind him as well. That's from that horrible plastic surgery episode.
Oh, I hate that episode so much.
But
that's the one with Alan Moore and all that, isn't it?
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and,
I do love Watchmen
Art
babies.
Spiegelman and Dan Clowes, when they become the Justice League of indie comic creators.
And it's a Jack Black as the comic guy, yeah?
Fuck, this episode, like that one, I forget how many things were in it.
Yeah.
Well, Mouse is in the house.
Yep. But back to this episode, play count. How many times have you seen it before today, Henry?
Once before today.
Dan?
Yeah, this is my second viewing as well, once before today.
BT?
Never before.
Oh, really? First time club?
I mean, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, I've only seen it a couple of times, and yeah, I watched it for worst episode ever. It was one of these episodes where I started listening to that podcast, and I'm like, wait, have I seen this one? And I hadn't. But yeah, anyway, was this a wacky episode of The Simpsons? Let's talk about the wackiness.
And that's why you never see a shark with monkey arms.
I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that liked that bit with like him putting commercials in between the stories.
I actually quite like that.
I did like it.
The Container Store.
It was like, we could do that for our podcast then.
I mean, we basically do. I just cut them all out because they're all libelous. Because we don't advertise, we must libel people or slander.
Libel, advertising. There's no such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah, we keep trying to get sponsorship from drugs.
Yeah, they don't call us back though. It's weird.
Yeah. We're out here, drugs.
I mean, if we go back to the wacky things this episode as well, like you have the part where Kirk and Luann fall off the boat and they kind of just like fall backwards slowly through the casino on the boat.
Yeah.
There's a very odd element to it all.
I felt it was pretty forced.
Yeah. It's like, well, we have to get them off somehow. This is how. And done. Bye.
I feel like a lot of elements in this episode were a bit rushed, especially the ending we will get to later.
Oh, well, that was one of the wackiest parts of the episode and just total freaking Deus Ex Millhouse.
I think the Dutch plane coming in, which looks like a, I don't know what to call it, Dutch building.
I like that.
I know. I got a chuckle as well.
I thought he was Danish.
Well, what was with Uncle Zach's racism as well? I haven't heard this much racism against the Dutch since Goldmember.
He's Danish. He hates the Dutch. They're like neighbors, I guess. Are they?
I don't know
about geography well.
I'm bad at geography.
Yeah, they're near each other.
Well, in the way globally we're all near each other.
Yeah,
just like the seas. The seas are all connected, you know.
I will say I did really like that line of, well, we're going to go search for him. It's like, well, have you ever been to the sea? It's huge, and they're all connected.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that one.
Oh yeah, well, see, I thought Uncle Zach as well, just being Indiana Jones was somewhat wacky as well. Being like, oh, he's not a cool guy, but he is Indiana Jones in the exact outfit through the entire episode.
Even using the rope to bring him closer for the hug.
No, I liked that, and then Bart thought, okay, that's the end of that chapter, and then nope, the girls all like him more.
Oh, and then Nelson's going like, oh, he's trouble, but I can save him.
Okay, that line I didn't get. Why? Like, Millhouse had clearly had an end to his troubles at that moment. That's true. I did not get why that was there.
But I guess they were building up throughout the whole thing that Nelson's like slowly warming up to him.
Yeah, like, because the parts I liked most about this episode was Loner Millhouse and sort of winning over the school now that he just absolutely doesn't give a fuck. And, like, him turning Nelson around, I thought was really, like, effective in that way.
With his comeback with the joke about his drowning mother.
Yeah. What was that again?
Someday you'll be more haunted by those words than me.
Oh, cutting Millhouse.
And then Lisa's all just like, whoo-hoo, oh my.
I think it makes sense for Lisa because Lisa always have questionable taste in men.
Yeah.
Oh, and Millhouse as well. I think it is a decent recurring theme that once Millhouse stops giving a fuck, that's when she's like, oh, hello.
Because as we all know, depression makes you super cool and attractive.
That's why I can't keep the ladies away from me. Had to double bolt this podcast studio.
That's why they don't have any interest in me. I'm fine.
And also, we learned from the end of Homerpalooza that, like, not caring about being cool is what makes you cool, right, kids?
No.
It's like the song says, it's hip to be square.
Yeah.
Maybe when you're cool, you don't need people to tell you're cool.
Of course you do. How else would you know? Sorry.
And if you think any of us are cool, please drop us a 5-star review on iTunes. With the headline, cool. Another wacky thing that Bart and Milhouse with the spiders and Lisa's baby burps a lot.
Yeah, belching tarantulas.
I mean, the immature kid in me liked it, but
Yeah.
also functionally, I just didn't know why it was there.
Yeah, I didn't really need that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, that feels like a trend of like Simpsons, though, like the idea of like, I'll save you baby burps a lot, and then like, oh no, spider burps. Like, if you cut the dialogue from that joke and you leave it as a sight gag, it could work a little bit better. Not tons better, but it'd be a little bit improved rather than have to announce everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's it as well, and they sort of hung, like, Lisa wouldn't have held the baby burping spiders that long either, I don't think.
Nope.
I think that's a very good point. Yeah, it just wasn't very punchy. Any other wackiness from this episode?
The cat and dog dancing when Homer's singing.
Oh, man, I liked this. How about you guys?
Well, you can still like it if it's wacky.
Yeah, wackiness isn't inherently bad or good, but like I find myself complaining a lot about Simpsons songs these days. This one, I'm a fan of. Rake guitar,
Yeah,
pretty
I don't
good.
think. I don't think it's too bad.
And I like that it built. It wasn't unlike the last one where Homer's rapping in silence.
Ugh.
This one, it built the song around it. Like, okay, at least I'm having some
Yeah.
fun. They put some effort into it. Yeah.
And it's the climax to like wrap up a B plot. So
Yeah, I think that's why I liked this part of the story, is because it had a satisfying ending, even though
Yeah.
I don't think I sort of inserted it throughout the episode enough, or maybe well enough, but
Yeah. I will say it's a little weird to zoom in on a Simpsons character eye to see the color.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's a little odd. Like, it would have been fine if they
yeah,
just
yeah.
said it was Hazel. I didn't need the visual of zooming in on it, but all right, fine.
Yeah,
Whatever.
that's true.
And I actually didn't know for the longest time. I thought Hazel was just light brown, but it's like
No.
blendy browny blue.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was light brown as well. That's why when he like go,
I thought brown as well.
yeah, because when he goes like the red color, it's like the brown. No, I was like, wait, no.
Yeah.
but Hazel, I thought is brown.
Nope.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because, a hazelnut doesn't have blue in it.
Exactly.
Nutella doesn't have blue swirls in it.
It all depends how old the Nutella is, then. It can have blue in it if you wait long enough.
Oh dear.
It's a delicacy in Denmark. All right, so how about the heart of this episode? Did you guys feel the bumps?
I mean, Bart loves Milhouse.
Oh,
That was kind of like, after all these years, he's never really said anything kind about Milhouse, really. So a little too much too quick, but
Yeah.
it worked okay.
Yeah, I kind of want to discuss that when you ask me what I want to change about it, because I feel like, as BT said, it's very rushed at the end. They could have inserted a little bit more of that throughout the episode about him loving Milhouse.
Yeah, I guess it's because, it's Bart spending all the time trying to, reestablish himself as the cool kid.
Yeah.
And it's only sort of when Lisa says, you're doing this
Yeah.
because you love Milhouse, and he's like, you're right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
That it does feel a bit rushed, yeah.
Yeah, see, I didn't feel much heart in this at all, really, only because it felt like, again, it felt like a retread of other episodes. It had the elements of like Bart's friend falls in love in that way, and like and Bart's jealousy there
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
It feels like the same plot, so like I can feel more for that episode because obviously it's the first time I saw it used, and it was used much more effectively in that episode. This feels kind of like a retread of that kind of story.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Yeah, and we didn't really see Bart like say to Milhouse, "Hey, do you want to come hang out?" And he's being too popular to do anything. It was more that he was too sad to do anything.
Yeah,
but that's a
yeah.
different thing. So
Yeah.
lay that groundwork.
Oh, hearts. When Milhouse is really sad, Maggie gives him a bottle to try to cheer him up.
Yep.
And another cute scene, I gotta say. I think that the second act of this episode is like holding it up for me a bit.
Yeah. I just love when Maggie's kind to people.
Yeah.
Alright, the Maggie bit worked. The Milhouse turnaround of like, thanks, Mags. Wait, big boys don't get their moo juice from a binky; they get it from a big boy cup. It was just took a little too long, and was just
Yes.
like it was an okay line.
Yeah.
It just dragged slightly a little too much.
Yeah.
Well, when it's one character talking to another silent character,
Yeah.
Jay and Silent Bob reboot in cinemas now. But no, I mean, I liked this scene because it was good for Milhouse to do the turnaround and
Yeah, and didn't need anyone else to force him into it. He did it on his own, so that's always good.
yeah. Yeah, the only other thing I had on the heart, the Marge Homer storyline, but it wasn't so much heart, it was just sort of a cute ending.
I thought it was an okay, it's very, very, it feels like a B plot.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like a quintessential B plot. I'm like, I think it's fine.
I wasn't a fan of B plot at all, really, only because it felt so like the jokes kept going and going and going. Like we got like 2 or 3 scenes. I think like guys, you can wrap us up in 2 scenes, not like 5 or 6. I just don't have had people at all. Really, it felt like, okay, here we go. He's going in an album now. Look, it's not an anniversary either. Here, the joke is he's inattentive. I just wasn't a fan of it.
Yeah.
But then there's a weird bit where Grandpa's like, "Oh, you're just getting a little old and can't remember things." It's like
taking a walk down Alzheimer's Avenue.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, wait, so are you just implying that Homer does care, but he just can't remember because he's having trouble because he's getting older? And it's like, that feels like a different thing, but okay.
Well, no, I like that Grandpa, out of all people, was the one that remembered the song, and sort of both Homer and Marge had sort of forgotten it. That was cute.
I mean, because we know Homer's got a background in songwriting, so yeah, sure.
Yeah, among many of his godly talents is incredible oft-used musical ability for every instrument, be it piano, vocals,
bass guitar
especially, and rake.
Or even songwriting.
Get a pretty good sound on that rake.
In the episode where Lisa enters that singing competition.
Oh, that's right.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And Baby on Board as well, but, that song wrote itself. So ultimately, did this feel like an episode of The Simpsons?
I mean, I don't think any character was against type. It was just didn't quite have enough momentum for me. But everyone seems to be themselves.
It did, but it felt very much like the word stamped down as being a very teens episode. In that, as I said before, it feels like a retread of a previous plot, just with just like different elements. And with the B plot, I felt was very, very weak. And it does feel about Simpsons, but it feels very much like a teens episode where like it's random movie references with a not so great plot.
I agree that it feels like a mid to early teens episode to me. I don't think it's as bad as like the late teens. And I personally do like the B plot. I think it's like the B plot isn't like a huge thing. It's just there to fill out time in a way, but it didn't get in the way of the main plot, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and so I'm enjoying this discussion because it is a clearly polarizing episode, but we do seem to be landing that, none of the characters are like aggressively off. Like, Homer's a bit sort of jerk-ass, but what is it? Is he inattentive or is he forgetful? Like, but I think the one thing that's a sticking point for me is, Milhouse's uncle. I don't know. He just doesn't seem of this world, and I hate his voice. And
Yeah, he's too extreme.
Yeah, he suddenly got Duffman for an uncle.
That's like. And I was also sitting there going, wouldn't someone have already called his nearest living relative anyway?
Yeah,
no, that's true.
Why did Bart have to do that?
That's true.
Yeah, why do you have to do the whole thing and remember the dude who gives him butter cookies and stuff?
Yeah.
I must remember his uncle. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and that was a weird dragged out scene.
Yeah.
And, it's nice that, they got Luann and Kirk back together, I guess.
Yeah, I'm assuming this is canonical now.
Oh, yeah, they've been together ever since.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
well.
Oh, wait. Speaking of canonical, do you remember that scene earlier where he's like they make reference to them looking like brothers and sisters?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's so weird. But you guys mentioned this before, right?
Yeah, it's been in a few episodes now where I think even Kirk goes, my parents are cousins, I think.
Oh,
yeah,
that's really weird.
Oh, but there was one off-model moment where during the wedding, Luann's lips were set too far back and her nose looked extra huge. It was odd.
Oh.
Anyway, very, pushing up my glasses. But this is what we do. We point out these things. But yes or no, would you watch it again, Dan?
No.
Oh, Henry.
Oh, yes, definitely.
BT.
I wouldn't avoid it, but I don't feel like there's anything else for me to get out of this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it had passed the hangover test.
Yeah, I think hangover is fair. But I just don't feel like there's going to be any other jokes or plot for me to mine from this one.
Yeah. We'll start with you, Dan. What would you like to change about this episode?
Well, I have notes for this because I would change a lot. Right.
Cracked knuckles. Cracked toe knuckles.
Webster Dictionary defined plot as no. No, I mean, start for 10, I would lose the whole Homer and Marge B plot. I would just lose that entirely. And instead of that, I would include a plot regarding Kirk and Luann on the island because it was came out in 07, didn't it? Right. So around that era, like Lost were unpopular. So maybe parody that in some way. Have something like that. And the whole thing with Zach being like Indiana Jones type, maybe have him like go on a mission to that island to get something, and they meet up that way rather than the balloon just is there at the end and like, oh, resolved in like 20 seconds.
That's very fair.
What a coincidence.
Yeah, it just felt like it could have been like way more inclusive and way more tied together, because like for myself at least, the second half of Act 2 just felt like drag, because it just felt like sketches of Zach and Milhouse going around Springfield and doing cool guy stuff, when you could have like kicked in like a bit of a plot there and had it really tied together at the end.
Yeah, that seems fair.
No,
yeah.
absolutely.
But if they do the Lost parody now, how can they have Homer watch Lost on his treadmill later?
You can have both.
How about you, Henry? What would you like to change?
I agree that the ending is so rushed. Like, I like the idea of saying the B plot is with Luann and Kurt now. But I genuinely like the B plot, so I don't really want to change that either. So I think we were discussing earlier about how, Bart being jealous of Milhouse, right? But then he doesn't actually, it just seems really forced that Lisa just tells them, like, you're feeling sad because you love Milhouse, blah, 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 and telling us to our face. But instead, they could have had hints of that throughout. And even at the end, like, Lisa can explain, like when you found his uncle, you didn't want to get rid of him. You just didn't want to see Milhouse sad anymore. That's why you did it, because you're a good friend,
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, BT?
I think everything that's been said before me is quite good. I like the idea of expanding upon the current B plot or changing it entirely to Kirk and Luann on an island, because when we cut to them, it seems like they're getting along really well. They build a hang glider together. That could be a reaffirmation of their marriage. This is like their marriage 2.0, so they're obviously getting along, and they've had a lot of conflict in the past, so this would be an interesting way for them to work through that. They have to get out all the excess baggage they might have brought to this remarriage by basically surviving. That's pretty interesting, and we've never seen that before, so I'm on board.
Yeah.
Basically, my answer is to steal from everyone else.
Well, no, I'm on that page too, because those are like great changes, but the only thing that I'd add to that is like, there is something good about Milhouse and Bart having a lot of fun together, living together. And I think it'd just be a small change that Kirk and Luann are just like, hey, we're just thinking of extending the honeymoon one more week. We got a discount to extend the cruise. And Milhouse would be like, yeah, that's fine, whatever. Like, just so he had a little bit more of that responsibility in them disappearing, because it's kind of just thrown in there in this episode.
Yeah, and never returned to that he blames himself.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we are here. Dan, do you have any other notes?
There's a couple more I've got written down here, because I was watching the episode. I just kind of scrolled down random things, so it's kind of ramblings of a madman. So, my usual. Yeah, okay, I will say there was one genuinely good laugh, aside from the whole, like, the punch in the late in the episode. It's when the cruise line guys comes to Milhouse, his parents disappeared, and Bart jumps out with the hose and sprays Milhouse and shouts, "Die, monster." Yeah. That is, I mean, a lot of times these kind of buttons, like, on these jokes in later Simpsons, they tend to be, like trying to undercut the emotional impact, but in this case, I thought it was just perfect done, because it was just so harsh and over the top. It really worked for me. Yeah.
But speaking of the button on that scene was like, so you're not ice cream man? And then Bart like looks down the barrel of the camera. It was just weird, because I agree with you. Yeah, the spraying of the hose, wonderful.
Extra beats.
Yep, extra beats. Oh,
exactly.
Stupid extra beats.
To be fair, that's the kind of thing you say for a lot of late Simpsons, be like, it always goes on one joke too long.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Too many bites.
Yeah, that weird joke about Lovejoy being weak as well when he can't hit the volleyball. Like, what was that, like 5 seconds?
Yeah.
They want to defend the British. I told you.
Yeah, it's like a strange beat that was there for no reason. Anyway, but yeah, that's pretty much all I got, I think.
How about you, Henry? Any other notes?
Well, speaking of extended jokes, that whole bloody kitchen bit with Homer, with all the items that are like ocean related. Ocean Spray, Captain Crunch, 7C Caesar sort or whatever. It's just so unnecessary.
Billy Ocean, Best of Atlantic.
Yeah.
Come on.
One episode that you guys reviewed before, when where they all become firemen?
Yeah.
I hate that episode because there's non-stop extended jokes, because like symptoms of taking the sleeping medicine, and then he just acts out all the emotions.
Oh, that's right.
I just hate these like really unnecessary extended jokes.
Yeah. They even have Marge go, Homer, stop listing things. Oh, I can't.
But he does it 3 times total in this episode. So, yeah, there's that one in the kitchen, and then the listing off the various ties when they're getting ready for the wedding.
He only did 3 things, though, so not too bad.
As far as lists go, it was at least a short list.
Yes.
But then, where he's like picking the leaves out and guessing the colors, and he's like, green, brown,
true.
orange, rake, guessing. Ugh.
Yes, true.
Well, you've got to save on that animation budget somehow. Having them stand there and just say words is a lot cheaper than putting new backgrounds.
Those Koreans aren't going to pay themselves,
That's right. So is that all your notes?
One final thing is like, I also don't like this joke. Is that character introduced before, Mr. Johnson, the gym teacher?
No.
No, why did they just invent a character just to make a stupid rope joke? Why couldn't it be Mr. or Mrs. Pommelhorst?
Yeah, it's weird that it wasn't, either Pommelhorst or Bombardment Guy.
Yeah.
Oh no, don't mention Bombardment Guy, please.
Although I will say I did like the reprise of the joke where Bart's hanging from the rope and he's like, just climb up, I can't. Well, now it seems like my class isn't stupid.
Yeah.
It's still stupid. Okay, extra beat.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where I like the payoff way more than the setup.
Yeah.
How about you, BT? Any other notes?
I've only got one last note, is Milhouse blowing smoke rings with his inhaler.
Oh, that was very good.
I think we both got a good laugh out of that.
Yeah, just a really good visual joke. And time for my final notes, and I've only got two. The Homer turning into Marge at the picnic fucking
Pointless.
sucked.
Pointless and stupid.
Just such a bad way to get the episode started.
And it has the problem of Marge then going, Homer, I told you not to mock me at picnics, which implies he mocks her constantly, but she's asked for it to not happen at picnics. It's like, but that is so much worse.
Oh, it was just so unorganic and forced.
Yeah, I hate that joke, but the only microsecond I like is that when he dashes back and forth, everyone else is just eating and ignoring him.
Yeah.
Like
he's just doing his thing.
Even the Van Houtens are just quietly eating their sandwiches, ignoring him.
They know this is part of picnicking with the Simpsons.
Yeah.
And my final note is, I got to make a list of the Simpsons video games and see if we can find a programmer to make some of them. Because Bar Brawl Final Fracas, that looks really good.
Yeah. I do like that instead of fighting, you can just ask for the bill and leave.
It's the crying as the guy leaves. Sorry.
It's easy, Milhouse. It's just up, down, down, left trigger, right trigger, B, A, and both triggers.
That was so good. It must be time to rank this thing. Henry, it's your turn to start first.
Oh, can it not be first? Because I'm going to be so, could be the black sheep of the group.
Oh, you might be surprised.
I'm going to go for bronze. Yeah, I'll go for bronze.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I will rewatch it, and that's the minimum requirement to be bronze, right?
Yeah. That is correct.
I'll be honest with you, I actually came in with a silver, but you guys talked me down.
Right.
You can go silver if you want. It's your rank.
No, I'm going bronze because you remind me that I actually don't like the uncle character at all.
Yeah. How about you, Dan? What do you reckon?
I would say participant, only because, as I said before, I was a big fan of the B-plot asshole, but it wasn't a failure, and that's a nice thing to say about it. It was not a failure.
Yeah. Oh, God. I came in as a participant. I'm wondering if I've been talked up, because there are a few jokes that I like, but yeah, you know what? I'm going to be slightly nice to this episode, and I'll give it a little bronzy. BT.
Yeah, a few more jokes than I could have bronzed, but no, I'm going to stick with a participant.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all I got. I mean, I can go on if you want, but...
Oh, good. Eat up some time and... No,
sure.
it's all right.
It was it was August 5th, 1947. When I...
Oh, good.
More beats.
All right. Well, that'll be a dull bronze overall, and it'll be the second episode from season 19 to be called a dull bronze. It'll be joining He Loves to Fly and He Dolls, which we actually mentioned before when Homer, Life Coach and Mazes and Krusty Burger and Claude the Loon. What's the fucking music again?
Claire de Lune.
Claire de Lune.
Claire of the Moon.
The only classical music I know is from the 60s.
Classic rock.
All right. Well, yep, that about does it for the teens episode. And yeah, I think that's a really good ranking for it, that it ended up getting split right down the middle. I think it really does, reflect the polarizing nature of it. But now, let's head off to the classic era. And now, what episode did you pick for us to do?
I picked Homer Goes to College, Season 5, Episode 3.
Ah.
All right, we're going to go review that. We'll be back. And we are back, and we just watched our classic era episode. This was Season 5, Episode 3, Homer Goes to College. First released in October of 1993, it was directed by Jim Reardon, written by Conan O'Brien.
You set me up, you bastard.
I did.
Did he think it was Frostweather?
Yep.
That's usually what he does.
No, Conan O'Brien. I thought he needed a very late show style announcement we give to Schwartzwelder. In this episode, Homer Goes to College. Guys, what do we think?
Good fun.
I loved it.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's a very a breath of fresh air as always to go to the classic era.
Yeah, I love when we do go back to the classic era, and it just sort of has that blur about it, you know?
Yeah, it all just comes at you so quickly, and so good.
It's not as crisp and, you know, suspicious as Teens and HD. It's just warm and fuzzy and filled with nostalgia.
Yeah. Hi.
So, yeah, let's start out. Dan, why did you pick this episode in particular? Why did this one stand out to you?
Well, when I saw the list of episodes we could cover episode, this is one that always stood out to me just generally because I was saying in the episode that, like, as a kid, I got a lot of those, like, Simpsons VHS tapes. And one of the tapes I had was a tape called Simpsons.com, and this is one of the episodes on that tape. So I've seen this one a bunch of times when I was younger. And for a long time, I considered this, like, as one of my very, very top-tier favourites, only because it's such a joke machine. It's Conan O'Brien, so it's rapid fire, just like, 10 seconds, and you've had, like, 3 jokes in a row. Yeah.
So, yeah, I was excited to do this episode as well because I'm actually not the biggest fan of it, to be quite honest. Like, not that I don't like it. I just, I find Homer, like, insufferable at times in this episode.
Yep.
And I don't think it's really the fault of this episode exactly, but I think it sets up a lot of, like, what we hate later about jerk-ass Homer.
He is definitely a jackass in this one.
Yeah.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Not a jerk-ass, but a jackass.
Yeah, but it's an example of Homer being the villain in an episode. I mean, it comes much more into fruition with the Frank Graham episodes later on, but, like, this is one really example of Homer being the bad guy of the episode, almost.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But I think it's self-referential enough that it does get away with it at times. But look, let's hook into the discussion. Dan, for better or worse, what stands out to you from this episode?
There's a lot of episodes, but there's one joke in this episode that really gets me. It's when Lisa lists through all the like famous nerds like Orville Redenbacher and Supreme Court Justice David Souter, because that ties into a joke from Itchy and Scratchy the movie when you have Homer's bizarre in-depth knowledge of the Supreme Court and previous justices.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Cool.
Warren Burger.
Yeah, and also you have when Marge talks about, in the episode of It's Just a Movie, when Marge says, like, do you want Boss to be a Supreme Justice or a sleazy stripper? Can't he be both, like late L. Warren? L. Warren wasn't a stripper. Now who's being naive? It's that weird, like, very, very intellectual joke that you wouldn't get in the modern day. Like, you wouldn't have Homer just have a bizarre, like, index knowledge of every Supreme Court justice has been.
Yeah.
No, it's true, and it's weird in an episode where his stupidity is front and center. that he's just got this weird knowledge of the Supreme Court. Yeah,
yeah, I had no idea about that. It just reminds me of when you guys covered that George Bush Sr. episode.
Oh yeah,
all those presidential jokes that flew over my head that you guys explained.
Yeah, that's one that I wish we actually had an American on that.
There's someone better versed in history.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff flows out over our heads or under. Being that we are from down under.
And everything is above us.
Anyway, how about you, Henry? What stands out?
Well, I suppose I have to bribe you. You have the choice of this lovely washer or dryer, or you can trade it all in for what's in this box.
Box.
I quote that so many times whenever anyone mentions the box. Like, I know people quote Seven.
Yeah.
What's in the box, but I quote this outside. Just say the box, and then people just look at me funny.
Oh, totally, yeah.
So I just love that. Yeah, the nuclear regulator inspector just gets so caught up in the moment. He's just like the box.
Yeah,
yeah. I was say as well because locally around here, there's a movie theater that has a screen that is called The Box.
Yes,
I've been on the theater now for about 10 years, and every time someone mentions it, I have to do this. It's ingrained in there.
True Simpsons broke your brain hours, right? And yeah, it's one of those things where they're referencing an American game show, Let's Make a Deal, and got no idea what that is, but thanks to this scene.
Pretty much explained by trade it all for what's in this box.
Yeah. How about you, BT? What do you got?
I'm going to say that entire opening, but especially just the whole plant just taking a nap.
Yeah. That's what you call during nap time.
I know. I just, Homer leans on the control panel and sets off a meltdown and the dog just pulls the lever. It's like, crisis averted. Good boy.
I love that.
Like, it's happened often enough they've got a recording, and just when the nuclear inspectors show up and it's like, no, you've got a mistake, we make cookies here, Mr. Burns, old-fashioned good time extra chewy cookie.
Why chewy?
Like, I don't know, it's like, that's how hard he's trying to sell this. It's like, no, this isn't a nuclear reactor, obviously, it's cookies.
But the inspectors,
who wants chewy?
The inspectors know that every plant does this, and they have the axe ready.
Yeah. The guys working the
They know.
Get the alibi axe. Interesting accidental playlist as well. causing and then averting a meltdown with the Domino's pizza boxes. The Simpsons, if it goes on long enough, it's bound to repeat itself.
Yeah, it's true.
At the end, I got 8 potential playlists.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah, this could fit in a lot easy into it. Did you have another one? Sorry, Paige?
No, I was just going to say that entire opening, especially with the, they have to guard the bee. It's like, oh, no wonder Smithers maybe head bee guy.
And then is the one that immediately ruins the whole bee operation.
Yeah, and I just thought, the bee bit my bottom. Now my bottom's big. It's so stupid, but God, it's funny.
Well, even like Burns and Smithers thinking they got away with it as well.
Oh, he couldn't be there.
And what stands out to me... Oh, God, I feel like I have to go negative here to back up all I was saying before. I just feel so bad for that pig.
Yeah, it doesn't know what's going
So
on.
ranks a lot, yep.
I thought you were going to talk about the Dean.
And the Dean. As always, I feel less bad for people than I do for animals, but, you bring up a good point. I also feel bad for bass players, so... I thought he was an interesting character, actually, like... Because, this episode sort of does go back and forth with, like, those college movie tropes and stuff.
Crusty, bitter old Dean.
Yeah. And, he's just a young, groovy hippie Dean that played bass for the Pretenders.
Do.
Yep.
That was a sick bass
It
line,
was in
actually.
my head too, yeah. But I really like the bit at the end where he's like so nice and understanding when he's like, oh, well, Homer, I guess, maybe I've been a bit of an ogre too. Yes, you have.
Yeah.
Again, just how much of a jerk Homer is, but it works in that moment of just, that's Homer being the bad guy. That's the show pointing at him being the bad guy.
Yeah. And I know from a plot stance why the whole pig thing needed to be there, and like even the pig getting carted off after drinking, like sharing malt liquor with Homer.
A case of malt liquor.
Poor pig. But the curly straight thing I think is really obnoxious. I don't know. Do you guys like that bit or?
Yeah. Curly straight. It reminds me of like bed goes up, bed goes down.
Australia, America.
It's good, but I do feel it did go on for a bit or two too long. Like if you get like hyper focused on like every minute, like you probably cut one or two of the curly straight because like you need maybe 2 or 3, and then the pig bites him. That's all you need, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I love only in that moment does the pig have razor sharp teeth as well.
For about 4 frames of animation, it's just jagged edge teeth.
Yeah.
But even that bit where they all the nerds and Bart try to stop him, Homer just kicks and then Bart just flies across the room.
It is amazing. It takes 4 to constrain him.
Yeah.
Just so angry.
But they clearly settled buried the hatchet if, they ended up sharing a case of malt liquor. Play count. How many times before today do you think you've seen this episode, Dan?
Oof, I would put it somewhere 20, 30 times maybe, because again, like I had it on VHS as a kid, so the thing is, when you have you have a few VHSs, and like this is one of the ones like of tape you're watching a bunch of times over and over again. Easily in close to 50, I'd say. Because
in that tape as well, did they sort of mix it in with a few like newer or teens era ones, or?
Yeah, it was early teens, only because with it being the Simpsons.com tape, it was like it was computer themed only because the computer changed the grade, therefore it was computer themed. Maybe?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. I actually did read in my research that this is the first Simpsons episode to mention the internet.
Wow.
How about you, Henry? How many times do you think you've seen this one?
I don't think it's one of my higher watched classic ones. Probably only like a dozen times, maybe.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't know why. I just never really watched this much when I was younger.
BT?
Much like Homer's class, I'm going to say 101.
Yeah, look, I actually couldn't put a number on it, but it's one that I've actually skipped when I go to put this disc of season 5 on, because
you enjoy blasphemy, you heretic.
And it's weird. Like, it's not that I don't enjoy this episode. It's just there's so many better season 5 ones. I gotta say,
it's good. Damn
season 5 is amazing though. So
it's very, very strong this season. It's like maybe one of the top 3 strongest seasons.
Yeah, well, currently at our season rankings, which you can now see at thesimpsonsindex.com/best to worst. Yeah, it's season 5 is our second best season.
The numbers don't lie, people.
That's math, goddammit. And if there's one thing we know, it's math and science and the words to every Monty Python routine.
Neat.
Actually, how about you guys? Do you guys like Monty Python or?
I do, very much so. Well, the good thing about this episode as well is the couch gag is actually a Monty Python joke as well, with the foot coming in and squishing the couch.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yep. Flying circuses.
Circus eye.
So how about the wackiness? Was this a wacky episode?
A meltdown occurs when there's no nuclear material present. And Homer just walks out, just must destroy mankind. Ooh, nice.
I love that in this episode he glows green twice.
Oh.
Well, yeah, they kind of call to that where he's walking out of the college and it's all glowing green and they're like, hey guys, just through there. Like,
Yeah.
thanks, Homer. If this has happened enough.
That town's in danger. How about you guys? What are some wackiness that stands out to you?
I mean, there's some bad wackiness, like when he submits his college application and it cuts to the ad board looking at his big picture, there's a giant photo. So, like, does that imply they have blown that photo to giant proportion, like, other than just for him or for every applicant? Like, how is that a process of judging them by their looks entirely?
That resolution is really good as well for being blown up that much.
Exactly. It just...
Zoom and enhance.
It just... Like, there's certain things that imply a lot of behind the scenes that we aren't seeing.
Yeah. But yeah, I did actually really like that line. It's based on this photo. I don't think this essay is worth reading.
It would waste valuable seconds.
Yeah.
And of course, the inclusion of Richard Nixon.
Oh,
Just
I love Richard Nixon.
Oh, you'll pay. Don't think you won't pay.
Yeah.
He is one of my favourite characters in Futurama.
Oh, yeah, entirely, yeah. Well, the thing is, well, it's those three photos you see as well of, like, you know, here's it looks like presiding over Homecoming, and if you look at the pig in that shot, he looks so pissed off at that couple who are Homecoming King and Queen. It's a brief second, but to look in that pig's eyes, like, the fuck you say?
I'm going to guess someone made a Kerry joke about pig's blood and he got angry.
Oh.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, self-5 for that one.
I liked it.
Then he went to go wind down by rolling around in his own filth.
Well, I mean, as we all do.
And conferring an honorary degree on Richard Nixon.
I just checked as well. Nixon died in April 94, so yeah,
Yep.
about 6 months after this episode aired. So
He'd fulfilled all his usefulness in life.
he got the nerds expelled for getting the pig drunk.
Yep.
He's a big part of our podcast because he's referenced like 3 times in the song.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I know there's that one direct, but is it also, I guess, Watergate and a few other bits?
Yeah, it's first is Richard Nixon, then later on is Richard Nixon back again, and then there's Watergate. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yep. And it taught us about one of the greatest parts of American history. Like, there was a guy who was like Nixon's arch enemy, a guy called Dick Tuck, who for 30 years did nothing but just fuck with this guy.
I'm
just
sorry.
to put what, sorry?
Dick Tuck.
Dick Tuck, Richard Tuck.
It's a pseudonym.
Yes, Mr. Richard Tuck. Basically, there was a guy who was like, he made his mission in life just to mess with Nixon from 1950 to like up until Watergate. Like at one time when Nixon was speaking at a college, this guy Dick Tuck was put in charge of the appearance because he was into politics. He hires a giant auditorium, fills with like 3 people, and has Nixon speak for 4 hours.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
If you go on Wikipedia, there are so many great little pranks he pulled just like that. Like to the point where Dick Tuck was mentioned on the Watergate tapes when Nixon, during like his last days in office, was saying, it's all Dick Tuck's fault. He did all this to me when he had nothing to do with it at all.
That's amazing.
Wow.
He's a real life Bugs Bunny.
Yeah. Imagine messing with a guy so much that when he's getting impeached, he blames you specifically by name.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, right, when Dick Tuck died about 18 months ago, in his obituary, it said, political activist and noted Nixon enemy. If you can have that in your epitaph, noted Nixon enemy, you have done well in life.
I just want to say, when Donald Trump gets impeached, he'll be mentioning you, BT, from all those challenges to fight him.
And that stands. Anytime, any place, I will go fisticuffs with that mofo.
Like, he surely have heard your song, you know.
I don't question that he has a team of people researching every mention of on him in any kind of media format, so I know he knows about this, and he's a coward. So just going to reissue it, because it's been a couple of years since I said it. Anytime, any place, I will meet you, I will fight you, and I will win, because I have everything on my side.
And I bought the bell. So the other thing I wanted to point out, especially with the wackiness of this episode, is I think what this episode, mentioning what I said before, does well is, going against those college movie tropes, but then it sort of also reinforces them with the character of the nerds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's existing in this weird place, but what do we think about the nerds?
You mean nerds?
Yeah, I do like that Homer assumes he's the jock in the situation.
In his own mind, he's the jock.
That scene where he yells out nerds at the car is me, Dan's, and another friend's WhatsApp group chat's picture.
I have enough for many years, yeah. Well, okay, fun fact as well, the nerds all have names in the episode. I think the episode you only hear about Gary, who spills his ear medicine, but the 2 nerds are called Benjamin and Doug.
Oh.
Well, there we go.
Bit of research for you.
Do they appear again, apart from in that, is it Faith Wealth? Where they go back to fundraise for the football team or something?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And they mention the rivalry between Springfield U and Springfield A&M.
I hate them so much.
Yeah, I like this in this episode. The lead up to that line from Homer is just, well, the only other college within 50 miles is this one. That's our best target. Oh, those bastards.
Yeah.
It's like Homer just hating them because they're close and he's supposed to.
Yeah, well, the Nerds do come back as well because I think it's in the Poochie episode. The Nerd is the guy who asks about when Itchy strikes the same rib twice and it makes two different notes. I hope someone got fired for that one.
Oh.
It's one of the Nerds.
It is too.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the bigger one with the glasses.
Yep.
Oh. One of the bits of wackiness that really stuck with me and like traumatized me as a child because I wanted to see it as much as Bart and Lisa did. The episode where Scratchy finally got itchy.
What's the name of the episode?
Yeah.
Blowing the mouse down or something, yeah?
Burning down the mouse. Yeah, another David Byrne reference.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and the clip as well, you do see, I think it's when Scratchy puts the plastic disposal on him, he does them as Abraham Lincoln for some reason. He puts like the stovepipe hat and a beard on him.
Yeah.
It's a really odd point.
Yeah. Just, stovepipe bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I will say, this literally happened to me once because I was watching Monkey.
You got plastic explosives stuck to your face? And
I mean, that's a normal Tuesday for me. But I mean, I was watching Monkey and my grandparents were watching it and they were like about to, the hero's about to be executed and they shut it off right as the axe swung back. I'm like, what? No. They're like, no, that's too violent for you. It took me like 15 years to find out how that episode ended.
Oh, no.
They got Deus Ex'd. It was fine.
Oh. They made it worse.
Yeah, it took so long because there was like no reruns at the time and it wasn't on DVD or VHS. It was really hard to find. So it took me a long time to finally find that out.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They had this episode been in this time, they would have been jumped on right on that torrenting site.
Yep.
Beep. And they would have been able to get a copy of that episode.
Yes, that's right. Pirate Bay.
You meant to bleep
it. I don't censor myself.
Yeah, I love as well when they come back from the cartoon and Krusty, when he just goes, whoa, and his eyes are huge. You don't see the color in his eyes, but you see like the little dot reflection.
But they'll never, ever, ever let us show that again.
Yeah.
Just to drive it home. Beautiful.
Indeed. Yeah. I mean, go back as well. You do have at the very end, like the montage of scenes we didn't see at the end as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've got a list of them all here. You have Homer riding the motorboat in a toga, the food fight.
Yep.
When he pledges the frat, when he's getting paddled.
That looks like someone's fantasy.
It's all over DeviantArt. But yeah, and then you have when he crams all the guys to the phone booth, which I think is in Futurama as well, because I think in the Futurama college episode with Mars University, when Bender goes to the frat house, and one of the guys says to him, "Wow, you're the guy who crammed all those humans into a phone booth." Ah, yeah, well, most of them were children, which is an incredibly dark joke.
Yep.
We've got the tank at the football game, Nixon with a bra on his head, pushing Dean in the pool and flashing a graduation. A good old sex crown to finish it off with.
Yep.
Yeah. Damn. That's because I haven't watched Animal House yet, but I'm sure it's filled with probo shit. Have any of you guys seen it, or?
I have, yeah. It's troubling to watch now. There's elements. I won't spoil if you plan to watch it, but yeah, it's troubling to watch in the modern day.
Yeah.
I haven't, but I think I watched less movies than you, if that's possible.
I try to get in at least one month, maybe.
Yeah, I go to cinema occasionally.
So yeah, look, this is an extremely wacky episode. We've got a lot more to talk. Oh wait, we do. I was about to move on, but I got to mention Homer running out twice to go chase and play with animals in this episode.
Give that ham.
Stupid dog, give me that ham.
Ooh, a squirrel.
Yeah. I love his childlike giggling.
Yeah.
Chasing around the squirrels. So good.
Yeah, I also love that flashback as well when you see him as a teenager in high school as well. I do like how in this time it's very defined at some point in the 70s as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's really good how the classic era at least keeps it as, like, because they're in the same decade. As Marge and Homer met in the 70s, I mentioned the late 70s at some point, and then, and then the 90s, and it all makes sense in that way, and it's very defined. It's that
era. What are you on about? They met in the 90s. What are you on about?
Marge went to college in the 90s, as we all know, and dated her professor.
That 90s show told us they met in the 90s.
That 90s show that episode does have one good joke that I quite enjoy, when Homer goes to her grandpa to get some money from him and he goes, "What did the money for? Medicine."
But yeah, an episode which, like, I don't know that we've gotten a more violent reaction out of one of our guests to it.
Yeah.
Understandably.
Yeah. So how about the heart of this episode? Was there any heart?
No.
No.
I mean, at the end there's a touch.
Yeah, there's a little bit of, you need to go back and do this properly to set a good example for your kids. There's something there. I do like when he's trying to pull a moral out of him. It's like, well, we all learned something. These guys learned the rich, full life outside of college. No, he didn't. And I learned the important thing of college is to study and work hard. No, you didn't.
Yeah, and even though, and like Homer going, and that's it, and we left no loose ends. The exam's tomorrow.
I do like that because by then the audience has kind of forgotten about it as well.
Yeah. Well, it's another thing that sort of, gets me offside with this episode is that from around the time that Homer starts going into college, the episode starts getting all over the place and it forgets he's meant to be there for retraining. But the fact that they pointed out does get me back on side.
Yeah.
Oh, you're totally right. It comes almost like a college sketch almost at that point. Of like, what are college things we can do for this and just cramming into like, 7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah. Well, that's what I love. They're sort of going against the tropes as well. Like when he spikes the punch and like all the students are excited to be able to have their parents come and collect them now.
I think as well, the road trip as well, where he goes, no better way to spend the it's been be a few mayhem, and the other thing to do is go to a petting zoo.
I can't believe the last girl walked all the way to the ducks.
It was so cute.
And actually, I did have a feel for the guy who was like, I need to stop to the bathroom. You already went? Yeah, but a guy knocked on the stall and I couldn't go.
Relatable. New AF.
And another bit of heart. Sir, someone took 6 cinder blocks. There will be no hospital for the children.
I'll go tell the children now.
I'll tell the children as though that construction worker, that guy is going to break to a room full of sick kids.
Yep.
Okay, more implied whacking us off screen we don't see.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Ultimately, did it feel like an episode of The Simpsons?
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, all the characters are on point.
Well, Homer's a bit jerk-assy, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
Yeah, I think you said it well before, BT. It's more jackass than jerk-ass.
It's an important distinction.
Like when the professor drops the paper and he just starts laughing. It's like, look at that jerk.
Yeah.
The whole rest of the room's just silent.
Yeah. But the thing as well with that laugh as well, it does feel like, I think I said it in the episode we covered today as well, the idea of like the animation thing as well, because you feel like to animate Homer, it's a lot cheaper as well. And the same way later on when you have Bart sitting on the couch and you have to ask, finally, Grace says Worcestershire sauce in a soft drink. And it's Bart just sitting there. Yeah. It's an audio joke and it's like 10 seconds of animation where it's just a still frame, but it works as a joke, and you don't know how much unless you're really paying real close attention, like you're really breaking it down critically.
Yeah, that's a joke that I've forgotten. Like in an episode that's crammed with a lot of good jokes, some of these like ones that don't have the visual element may fall by the wayside. But I really liked Worcestershire sauce soda.
I don't understand how they're pronouncing it. They said Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire sauce.
What? Yeah. How do they pronounce it in America?
Like aluminum as well. It's just they've got their own way of doing it.
Okay, they're special.
Okay, that'll be fun. Switch to an American accent and try to pronounce it. All right. Worcestershire sauce.
But yes or no, would you watch this one again, Dan?
Yes, I would. I'll watch it again within the next year or so, I imagine.
Henry?
Yeah, but I won't be going back this week.
Really? Oh, okay. BT?
Yeah, agreed. Give it a little time to breathe, but I would definitely watch it again.
Yeah, I'll admit I will watch it again. Not for a while. Oh, and sorry. I only get to do this for like the classic and sometimes the teens era. So we would watch this again. We like to think about what playlist we'd put this in. You had a few.
Oh, yes. So, when they put all the bad employees like Homer down in the basement?
Yep.
That's a bit like when they put all the bullies in the little room on Whacking Day.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And then also... Remember when he was going through the college admission letters and he failed, and then he's like, "Oh, a flyer for a hardware store." So a hardware store advertisement playlist.
Oh yeah, yeah. Put this with the last episode we watched. Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, and when he's swayed by the lumber ad with the guy with the big butt.
We need lumber.
And when Bart says when he's like, "I'm going to college," and Bart's like, "Barber or a clown." So it's like setting up the clown college for the next season.
Oh, I mean the clown.
That's right.
And Barber College coming in season 33.
Oh, I can't wait. Well, there is Homer Scissorhands from season 23, is it?
Yeah, 22. You beat me to
22.
it. Yeah. He doesn't go to barber school, but he shows his unlearned, uncanny ability to be good at cutting women's hair.
I'm already face palming.
It's not a bad episode, but
I don't mind that.
But it does have some like women be crazy moments that sort of fall flat, but otherwise decent episode.
I thought I had a stroke when I watched that season because that was the episode before 500 Keys. I'm like, why do I like 2 episodes back to back in season 22? What's going on?
Amazing.
What's going on?
I stand by season 22. I think it's probably my favorite HD era season.
Okay.
Any other playlists?
Homer singing again. He sings in all 3 episodes, right? Today.
Yeah.
He did too. And then this bit where he's doing the I Am So Smart song, I didn't know this. Apparently this saying SMRT was actually a mistake by Dan Castellaneta.
Oh, amazing.
Like, and you can sort of tell because when he corrects himself, it's like it was very clumsy. And this wasn't written, but they...
of course. Put that
when
in.
he delivered that, they laughed and like, no, we're keeping that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so organic.
Oh, totally, yeah.
One final playlist. You know when he's doing that cramming session, all the nurses trying to make him study, and he falls asleep, and the guys try to gently wake him up, and he punches the guy. That's like when Bart tries to, pull a prank on him, and then when he got hypnotized to think he's a child, and he punches Bart in his sleep as well.
Oh, that's right. And also when Indiana Jones Van Houten punched that nerd before.
Yeah, punching nerds.
Yes.
We got a lot of odd
punching
connections with these. Sorry.
I have one as well. Like, okay, a playlist for this one. Homer pretty much kills an animal because obviously the pig, Mojo, pray for Mojo, Pinchy.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, there's a couple more, and I'm assuming Spider Pig met a horrible end at some point, and this pig also formed Spider Pig as well.
No, Spider Pig's well alive in the later season, right? With that, you watched the episode where Maggie rounds up all the animals to save that little raccoon or something.
Fucking bizarre, man.
That is I thought I dreamt that.
Well, it is because it's like a regular episode that's intercut with these Maggie Disney adventures.
Yeah.
And it's odd. All right, Henry, we'll start with you this time. Is there anything you'd like to change about this episode?
Oh, why are you starting with me again? I don't know. I'm not a good enough writer to improve this. It's not my favorite. You could have had some heart, I guess, but I don't know. It's just joke after joke. I'm a bit tired after watching that, to be honest. I don't know how to improve it.
No, I mean, that's it. That's sort of what the classic era makes you feel like. My hand gets tired after watching these ones and from note taking. How about you, Dan? What would you like to change?
I mean, I do feel like a bit of ego being like, oh, well, I'll rewrite Conan O'Brien because clearly I know better than this guy. The guy wrote Marge vs. the Monorail. Yeah, fuck that guy. I can do a better job. No, I would say, maybe get to college a little bit quicker because I get why we have to see the thing of Homer's impression of college and a School of Hard Knocks because we instead of like he believes college is like in a movie or a TV show. I kind of get that, but maybe give the college a bit of a through line and there's random sketches about like college.
No, I agree. How about you, BT?
Yeah, there's a bit where the nerds are talking about, Kirk versus Picard, and they're very much on the Kirk side of things, which is actually technically wrong. Captain Picard is a statesman, a gentleman, and a tactician. Is there a Kirk maneuver? No, there is not, but there is a Picard maneuver, and that's in the Federation handbook. I mean, what else do you want?
BT's going to get his letter from MIT to invite him to study tomorrow.
Damn Skippy.
And as for what I'd change, I mean, it's easy to critique something and fun too. I just think this episode has some odd pacing and I think you hit the nail on the head, Dan, with I wish he got to college quicker. I think you can rearrange some of those bits at the start with Burns and the inspectors and also sitting on the board of the college and
so
maybe
good.
even skip Homer writing the application because there's not a lot there. There's some good stuff, but it could be snappier and you could get to college faster and leave room for the story to play out. And like I said at the end, I wish it was more reminded that Homer was at college for a reason. But I think, just reinstating the point that Conan O'Brien is an absolutely magnificent writer. And I do not think I could hold a candle to him. No, sir, Bob. All right. Yeah, we're here. Dan, do you have any other notes?
I have a bunch of other notes, so buckle in, kids. You're about to get very, very bored. Right. So, basically, in the episode, there were certain things I had to Google because there are certain references in this episode that I never understood. So I thought, well, I've got 10 extra minutes. Let's do some Googling. Right, so when Homer rattles off all the books he's read, obviously TV Guide, we know what that is, TV Guide.
Yeah.
Catherine Hepburn's Me is just a random slam on Catherine Hepburn because she wrote an autobiography, and it's about hers, but he doesn't class that as a book. But the second one is getting the idea of Son of Sniglet. I had to go what this was.
Is it real?
Yes, it is and isn't. Right. There's an American comedian, a guy called Rich Hall. He appears on QI sometimes, if you guys have seen that.
Yep.
In the 80s, apparently, he had a series of HBO specials, and one of his things was he wanted to come up with words to describe things like experiences or times that don't have a dictionary definition, but should. You know what I mean? Like, I can't think of an example, but you know, like, what do you call like a half-open jar? Like, what would the word for that be? That's not an example, but it's an example of what I think it might be.
Yeah.
And they were called Sniglets. That's what we called them. And in the 80s, he released a series of books, you know, called like, you know, Sniglets on religion, Sniglets on like on the workplace or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But Son of Sniglet was never a book about it, but it's the idea of like making up like a fake sequel book about like a comedian with quotes, like which is one of 3 books Homer's read.
Oh. Wow, that's a weird but great cut.
Isn't it?
What a pull!
It's a bizarre because it was so out because I get it was the one I could never quite understand as a kid, being like, what could that be?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, of course, Conan would know this one.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. As well, Mr. Burns and the Jade Monkey thing. That's from the Maltese Falcon.
I love that bit.
I didn't even know the reference, but just delivery-wise, it fucking gets me every time. And they do the Dutch angle and a little bit of shadowing.
And just the follow-up of, we found the Jade Monkey. It was in your glove compartment. And the roadmaps at Ice Scraper, they were in there too. Excellent.
It's all falling into place.
Amazing.
I mean, it's very similar to that episode of we have Mr. Burns being like a shiny donkey, the guy being the head of Homer Simpson, which I think is from the last exit to Springfield.
Absolutely wonderful episode.
Yeah, and just generally Homer's with the Dean about the whole thing of like, you know, I'm sorry for the running you over prank. Yeah. Hits him with his car.
Yeah. How about you, Henry? Any other notes?
Well, you all like baseball, don't you? And to have a successful baseball team, you need teamwork. Not some hot dog and mission officer played by their own rules. And they just pummels him.
Oh, the pummeling.
Gentle tapping against his head.
It's one of my favorite scenes from the episode.
Yeah, it's a Untouchables reference, I think.
It is, yeah.
Oh, really? With the chair and everything?
I'm pretty sure. I don't know the chair, no. But in the Untouchables, he does bludgeon someone with at a meeting with a baseball bat.
Gives him the beating of his life.
Yeah. And
just stop that.
Dismember the body and send to Koshaz, who is widow.
Oh, birds.
Oh, just one final note is, you know, when he sends off that essay and the photo, I don't think the photo made a difference because from what we heard from the last line of his essay, and that was the most I ever threw up.
It changed my life forever.
I don't think he would have got it anyway.
I wonder if that story was a follow-on from that picture.
Yeah. It works both ways, in that if it is great, but if not, and it's unrelated time, he eats a giant cake and his eyes bugged out in that way.
Yeah. BT?
Yep, some more great Mr. Burns of, I have a feeling you'll be dropping the charges. And then the trapdoor opens, the painters move your desk, sir. Oh, yes.
It does have so many moments of, like, the double meanings and more sinister overtones.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, what are you going to do, Dad? Something I should have done a long time ago.
You don't know, do you?
No, ma'am.
Oh.
Yep, what else have I got here? Sounds like a pig fainting. I think it's a great example of, just the fluidity of writing of Wallet Inspector.
Yeah.
And he runs off, and then just the tag of Homer just going, that's not the Wallet Inspector.
Well, yeah, like, Snake can't believing that it worked. And, Homer, like, hey. And even the nerd's going, that seems to be all in order.
Yep.
And it fades out to the Homer, and then just like really, really dramatically.
That sting, that dun dun dun, and him looking very concerned into camera.
Yeah, it's like the camera understands the drama of the moment, but the script has undermined it. And that's a great bit. And finally, just what are you going to do, Mr. Simpson? I've got a plan. I'm going to hide under some coats and hope that everything works
amazing.
out.
All right, time for my final notes. Yeah, Homer being so, aware of the tropes of the college life and, like, couldn't recognize that he was hanging out with nerds and, like, all the things that they did. Oh, we played D&D for 3 hours, but then I was slain by an elf.
No, owl. Is it an owl?
It was an owl.
I think it's an owl.
An elf, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure it was
It's an
elf.
elf. It's an elf. Is it? Okay, I thought it's an owl for some reason.
An owl, yes. An owl slayed him and swooped down and ka-cha!
Which is funnier because there's things called owl bears in the game.
Yep, that's right.
They'll fuck you up.
And then Marshall saying that these boys sounds very nice, but they're obviously nerds.
According to Frankiak, it is an elf.
Elf. Okay.
Yeah. Either way, it's still funny.
I like owl.
Are you going to put that in one of our games, maybe?
I mean, if you start being mauled by owls, yes.
Do you guys play D&D at all? Or?
I was going to mention this at the end when you ask us what we're into, actually.
Well, put a button on that one then. Oh, button. Forgot to mention you guessed the jar of buttons in the other episode.
You didn't need to. It's fine.
I liked that line, though.
Pain.
Oh, okay, another line of Homer's that I didn't like, the carpet bridge thing.
It was like creepily psych. It's like his plan was basically murder someone.
Yeah, and his plan was well reminiscent of the movie, what was it, The lady killers, it turns to the lady killers because in that movie, I had to kill people off, throw them in cops and throw them off a bridge as the gang of that film die.
Yeah. That's lady killers.
And another movie reference, Bart scraping his fingers along the chalkboard.
Oh, George, yeah.
That's a shark's tail.
Yep.
God damn you.
Amazing.
And my final note is, Louie. For the longest time, I thought the lyrics to this song is "The Wheel's the Way." And someone told me, no, you idiot, it's Louie. And it's like, how could I tell? They say Louie wrong twice, 2 different ways.
It's fair. But it's famous for not being decipherable. So.
Oh, is that one of the ones where they censored it when there wasn't anything to censor?
No, yeah. The full story is the band thought they were rehearsing, but they were actually recording. And so when they didn't bother to learn their parts or play it properly, they got to the end of the recording and they're like, okay, so when do we do this for real? And they're like, that was for real. We're going to release this. Like, oh, shit. But apparently, because you can't understand what he's saying, so many people thought there were satanic messages, or it got investigated by the FBI for having potentially communist references in it.
Oh.
And you can actually hear the drummer in the background yell fuck when he makes a mistake, but no one picked up on that. So the FBI were literally going through this song, like trying to figure out what he was saying to see if they were hiding messages in there, and missed the actual curse word that was thrown out there. It's a bizarre story.
Amazing.
All right, it's time to rank this thing. Who's going first? Dan is going first.
Well, I think probably in my case, I'll group it as Cubic Zirconia because I absolutely adore this episode. It's one of my very, very favourites. I know you guys I can see you not liking it in that like the tone was kind of a jerk in it, and the plot's very light and the heart's kind of light as well. But I just really enjoy it because it's a Conan O'Brien. It's an absolute joke machine. This episode just keeps going and going and going.
Cool. How about you, Henry?
At the risk of being unpopular, should I do that BT thing where I say the 2 things?
I mean, I recommend it. It does help me make decisions.
Can I just say a gold for now? And then see if I change my mind?
And again, another BT method. If you change your mind, you can blurt something out later.
Yeah, because Cubic is like essential. What you think is like, oh, if I want to show this to someone new, it's definitely this episode, isn't it? Yeah, so I don't think I'm quite there with this episode, so I'll pass it on to you guys for now.
BT.
I'm gonna gold. It's one of those ones where I can't find fault with it, and yet it doesn't quite reach that, impossibly perfect level of a Cubic Zirconia. I want to because it's really quotable and it's a lot of fun, and I get some great laughs out of it. But I don't for whatever reason I don't have that in me. So it's a good gold. It's a shiny gold.
I'm glad you guys went with the ranks you did because I think it reflects the general feeling about this episode. This is like really well loved, and even for me, like there are so many essential moments, even though I feel the package itself is inessential, but it also to me it isn't excellent. I'm going silver with this one.
Ooh. Whoa.
Yeah. And I know I'm going to get some blowback on this for giving a silver to a season 5, but I just got to go with my heart guts. Like this is sort of up there with the best HD and Teens era episodes.
Whoa, you're usually the feather touch.
I know. But again, I absolutely respect it. And I really enjoyed the discourse on this one and the last one, and good old objective personal criticisms and all that. Well, that'll be a gold by split decision. We've had a couple of those. The front from season 4 where Bart and Lisa write the Itchy and Scratchy cartoon.
Oh.
And also Bart's Girlfriends from season 6. That got Cubic gold, silver.
I was the Cubic one on that.
No, it was the gold. Oh yeah, it'll be the 3rd episode from season 5 to be dubbed gold. Also joining Bart's Inner Child and Deep Space Homer.
It's a bit like Deep Space Homer in my opinion in terms of ranking.
Yeah. Actually, no, I agree with that because that's another one where I like the jokes a lot, but the pacing of the episode is weird, but unlike this one, that's because it's a lot slower than I think of classic Simpsons, whereas this one I think is sometimes too fast for its own good.
Right.
It burns out its britches. BT, I wish I could send you guys the look I'm getting right now. All right, guys. So that about does it for the Simpsons Index for this week. But before we get out of here,
wait a second.
Oh, my goodness. How do I forget this every time?
That's why I have me around
BT, the question.
All right, well, you guys are big fans, so I'm sure you know what this is. But basically we like to ask our guests, if you could have a sandwich named after you, what would be on that sandwich?
Oh, no.
And if that's too hard of a question, because that is like the 4th hardest question in the world, the alternative is just, what's the best sandwich?
I really want to try the Jack Picone.
Oh, what was that? Fried chicken, pepperoni, and mozzarella.
Yeah, that sounds really
melt it
good.
in a roll or something. I'm like, I need to try that. That sounds doable. And then he replied, he said the sandwich is also good.
That's right.
Hate to put you in the hot seat, but this is how we do. So, Henry, why don't you let us know first? What's on the Henry?
That's really hard because I actually was afraid to ask me this question because I couldn't think of an answer. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
How about you, Dan?
I think mine would be just some kind of various meat, just some kind of like salami, pepperoni, smoked ham with a bit of mustard, and maybe some melted cheese in there. So, some kind of very basic but like heart-clogging sandwich.
Hey, a classic ham and cheese, man. That's good.
With salami and pepperoni.
Yep.
The one I go to when I go out to eat is like cranberry and bacon sandwich.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I always quite like that, but I just don't know enough to know what's the best sandwich, in my opinion.
You don't know your best sandwich?
There's no wrong answer, man.
Because I looked at the sandwich index before. I'm like, what are all these ingredients? Truffle aioli.
Yeah, I think it's probably because I've been off bread now for like 18 months, and I real miss it.
Wow.
Sorry to...
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Me, so well done.
It's one of those things, but like I'm crap at sandwiches only because I haven't eaten a proper sandwich in a very long time. But I've lost like 50 pounds over it. Like, but I miss bread. I miss bread an awful lot.
Oh, congratulations, though, man. That's a huge effort.
Cheers, pal. But yeah, bread's real close to home.
All right, yeah, I'm putting you down for a cranberry bacon sandwich because I think that sounds pretty damn
good.
tasty.
I want one of them right now.
Yeah, for real. All right, and now that about does it for the Simpsons Index this week. But before we get out of here, we'd just like to briefly talk about things that we're into lately. Books, TV, video games, music, movies, knitting, stuff. What would you like to yarn about, BT?
Nice.
Thank you.
Lately, I've been reading How to Fight Presidents by Dan O'Brien. Sorry, Emmy Award winner Dan O'Brien.
Oh, wow. Dan gave me that as a Christmas present. Is it last year, Dan?
Yes, I got Henry on our Christmas episode because I read you Cracked and Dan O'Brien. I thought Henry'd really dig that book as well.
Yeah.
And I use it as a source in my episodes for the podcast.
Oh, wow, nice.
Synergy.
Yeah, a lot like Cracked articles. It's, reasonably short because he has to cover like 42 presidents or something, or the deceased ones.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's funny, and it's everything we love about that era of writing and Dan O'Brien in general. So yeah, check it out.
Now that we've had Swaim on the podcast, that's the next mission, to get Dan and...
Yeah, we've discussed it. First Swaim, then Dan O'Brien, then John Oliver, then the Queen.
That's how it goes. Do you guys have any ends for our last one, by the way?
Any what, sorry?
Ends to the Queen?
Do you have her email, her Twitter account? I don't know, something.
Well, I believe over here she has some kind of like signal in the sky. You can shine. It's.
I knew it.
Yeah, it just does like a little wave.
It's just a silhouette of a corgi.
Yeah.
How about you, Dan? What are you into?
Well, right now, to be very, very on brand at the minute, I'm reading a book right now called The Time Machine Did It, written by John Swartzwelder.
Swartzwelder. Oh my God, I keep recommending this book anytime anyone's...
It's fucking fantastic. I mean, because I know the point that he writes like one book a year now, but it's very, very good. It's his first in this like detective series, but it's very, very good so far.
I'm glad you mentioned it, because out of the 6 books that I've ever read, that's one of them.
Is Son of Snicklet one?
And pardon?
Is Son of Snicklet one of your books? Catherine Hepburn's Me? TV Guide?
Oh, yeah. That's not a book. How about you, Henry? What have you been into?
Basically, I was listening to Simpsons Index while discussing Wittgenstein. No, but in one of the previous episodes, I think you did it, Elliot. You recommended a podcast called Free to a Good Home.
Oh, yeah, with Ben and Michael, yeah.
Yeah, so I binged, basically, I was trying to binge through the Simpsons Index, and then you recommended that, so I started checking it out, and I binged all of that.
Yeah.
But then during that podcast, they keep plugging their other podcast called The Dragon Friends.
Yeah.
And I binged all of that, and then I was like, I need to play D&D, and now I'm playing D&D.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so... Yeah, because in a roundabout way, I'm playing D&D because of Elliot.
Wow. And I'm playing D&D because of Beach.
Yep. And I play D&D because I listen to my brother, and we also listen to podcasts like Harmontown. It's all podcasts.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's all podcasts all the way down.
Yeah.
Was Dragon Friends the one we saw live?
Yeah.
Oh, in Sydney.
Yeah, with...
sorry, I've seen them live. You weren't there for that one. We saw Sanspants Radio.
Oh, yeah, that's right. D&D is for nerds.
Yeah, D&D is for nerds. But they have been around before, and I saw them. Again, my brother got me tickets for Christmas, so I saw them then.
Oh, very cool. I'm jealous.
Yeah, they're good fun live, yeah.
No, I mean, I absolutely adore both Ben Jenkins and Michael Hing. And we saw Michael Hing do stand-up as well when he wore that lobster outfit.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Oh.
He did like 5 minutes on being a lobster, and he's like, okay, this costume's fucking hot. I'm getting out of it.
Classic Hing.
Yeah.
Hing.
So yeah, backing up that point, yeah, love Free to a Good Home. But what have I been into? I haven't done a video game update lately, but the game that I'm going to be recommending is Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair.
What?
Is that a sequel?
Yeah.
Or like DLC?
No, it's a sequel because the original Yooka-Laylee about 3 years ago or something was a 3D platformer, which was aggressively okay.
Oh.
But yeah, this one, they've actually changed and it's a 2D game now. And I know there's like a million 2D platformers out right now, and it's hard to recommend one, but man, this one is really good. They've got great abilities, and it's a lot of fun, and there's a great fluidity to the gameplay. And the overworld as well actually has a lot of Zelda vibes, where you have to do like basic puzzle solving to actually unlock levels. And I think it's just a brilliantly designed game, and I think it's great that these characters have had a second life like this. So yeah, Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair.
Okay, it's on Switch.
Yep. Oh, I think it's on everything, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Give us money.
Yeah. And yeah, the Container Store.
For all your container needs.
All right, it's time to get out of here. But before we do, guys, plug your podcast.
The Firestarters Podcast. We are a podcast that breaks on every cultural reference in Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire in chronological order. We are on the third verse now, I think. Something like that when it comes out. We'll be told in the third verse.
It all blurs into one.
I like that instead of seasons, you have verses. That's good.
Yeah, well, we have to because it's a mixed bag. If you go through the episodes, find someone you like or find someone you don't like. I would say, if you're jump in with us, I would recommend going to Richard Nick's episode to start with, because that's one people seem to like quite a lot.
Don't be like BT.
Cool.
Don't start from the very beginning.
I will always start from the beginning.
Yeah, the first six are a shit show, but if you hate yourself and hate your ears, you can listen to the first six. But start with Nixon. It's a good one.
And I do.
Me too.
Oh, good stuff. Well, yeah, thank you very much for joining us today. This was, an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Henry.
Thanks for having us.
BT, thank you as always.
Hoy, thank you yourself.
Cheers. And I've been your host, Elliot Jay O'Neill. That's all the mustard in the house.
Thank you for listening to the Simpsons Index podcast, which is also an online spreadsheet available at thesimpsonsindex.com. You can chat to us online at facebook.com/thesimpsonsindex or at Simpsons Index on Twitter and Instagram. And now please stay tuned for the bonus scenes!
Well, yeah, great. That does it for the Simpsons episode. Sorry, it's past midnight here.
Yeah.
And where's Dan?
Let me add him again. Just wait until he picks up, I think.
That's all right. I'm just going to be humming Louie Louie for at least the next 2 weeks.
You and me both. The Chessman. Is it Chessman or the Kingsman? I think it's the Kingsman.
I can never remember. Like, I'm actually more familiar with the Motorhead version.
Very, very good. Because I think many years ago, when I first got it, totally legally, I think it said the Kinks on the end, and I know it's not the Kinks.
Oh yeah,
Definitely not.
It's like how in the early days of Napster, every comedy parody song was Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah.
Yep, and every song, it wasn't the song you wanted, it was always Bill Clinton giving that speech about how he didn't have sexual affairs with that woman. Early piracy, but I digress.
Nostalgia. Hey, that was solid, BT. Come on, give it up.
I know, I was just busy figuring out what I was going to use my what stood out for me. But yes, nostalgia, very good.
E+.
Bronze.
Dan, I want to tell them about the Garth Marenghi story.
Oh, wait.
What's that?
This is fantastic. This is a great story. Henry, please tell them.
Yeah, BC mentioned Dark Place in one of the plugs recently.
Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, yep.
So, peering behind the curtain, I am Asian, okay?
Shh, don't tell no one.
Okay, don't tell anyone. But Dan and I went to Manchester, was it 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, it was 2015, 2016 or so, because it was the 10th anniversary of Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. And in Manchester, one of the things they were having a 10th anniversary get-together of Matthew Holness, Alison Lowe, and it was presided over by a guy called Chris Hewitt, who does the Empire Magazine podcast, the film magazine in the UK.
All right.
And basically in Manchester, they had this reunion and a reunion screen of the whole show while we were there. And me and Henry went. And Henry, you'll pick it up from here?
Yeah, so They did a Q&A. I don't remember anyone else's question, but I was a brave boy at the time, and I put my hands up. And my question was, so, what's the deal with wonton, and should I be racially offended? And I just made them very, very uncomfortable.
Yep. Henry called out Matthew Holmes as a racist in front of a room of 100 people.
Yeah.
And the silence was deafening.
And Matthew...
so the crowd were...
The crowd I was the only non-white person there, first of all. And then Matthew Holmes just got very, very flustered and he couldn't really say anything. But then Alice Lowe just said, like, sir, there's a lot of things to be offended about in Dark Place, but race shouldn't be one of them.
Yep, call Matthew Holmes a racist.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And that's my story.
Just froze out the entire stage.
Yep.
That's your superhero ability. Freeze by power of racial accusation.
I didn't mean to. I just wanted to make a joke.
Yeah, and it just shut everything down.
Yep.
I still haven't watched that show yet. I must. It's actually most of it's on YouTube.
It's
only a few episodes.
It's the best.
Yeah, it only ever got one season of maybe 6 episodes or something like that, and I'm surprised how much it's endured when you like bump into other fans. You're like, oh wow, I had no idea how big the spread this was.
Well, there was a semi-sequel show, wasn't it? There was a Man to Man with Dean Lerner.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's Richard Iowari, plays character of Dean Lerner, Garth agent, and he had a chat show for a while, and Garth was an episode of it. It's fantastic.
Nice.
Again,
I will have to check that out.
Again, 6 episodes. Awesome. It's pretty darn good as well.
Yeah, Elliot, because it's like Inception. The actors play as actors who would play as characters in the show. So there's 2 layers.
Just really Macbething this.
Yeah, like Children's Hospital or something.
Yeah.
Although nice Macbeth.
I think I mentioned it?
I think you meant Hamlet, but yes.
Oh, whoops.
Is that your 6th book?
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen less plays than I have books. Seen less books. God, I'm an idiot. All right. That is all the mustard. Anyway.
In the house. You're gonna do it. Finish it.